Welcome, folks. Episode 642 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse headed your way. You can catch us here every Sunday, 8 o'clock in the UK, 12 o'clock Pacific time in the United States. And you can join in on more of the fun at patreon.com/boxing asylum for some extra goodies. We're running a little light here in the panel. I'm sure the other guys will wander in here right now. It's just me and Justin. So, of course, two Americans. We got to kick it off with some British boxing action. Ben Whittaker blasting out Gavazi in a round in a fight where the fucking ring entrance took longer than the damn fight did at the end of the day. Just far too much to him. Kind of came out hooking around him and then put him down. And Gavazi was able to get back up, and then he was trying to trade with Whittaker, and Whittaker caught him down the middle, and that was the end of the night for Mr. Gavazi. Whittaker rolls on to something. Probably got to be something more than Gavazi, but alas, we shall see. Justin, I don't know what to say about this. Not a whole lot to glean from 90 seconds of action there, but do your best.
It's exactly what they wanted to happen. You just sign this guy, you make him the main event. It's exactly where they wrote it. It's what we all thought was going to happen. There's nothing else to add. They brought in this random ass dude that they knew that was going to get knocked out, that was going to offer jack shit, and that's exactly what happened. It would have actually been a bad fight and a bad look for Whittaker if this had gone more than 3 or 4 rounds. I mean, I don't know what I think when Whittaker actually fights a really talented guy, he's going to lose. But I just think when he fights somebody that's got substance about him, he'll lose. But for now, I mean, if people are willing to, I don't know what the crowd was last night. I didn't really pay attention to that, but this is the first fight with Hearn. You want to get the people on board. You want to make a statement, and that's exactly what the opponent they did. There's not much else to add. They got it exactly the way you would write this up. That's it.
Yeah, it was not a. Yeah, I mean, you don't know if he's improved.
No, you can't prove
worse.
Yeah, this guy was going to offer nothing. So there's no. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's good for a first fight for Eddie Hearn. Hey, get him in there. Get something going. But you cannot allow him to fight guys like this much more. I mean, because like you said, you're going to get to a point where he's not going to be ready to fight anybody decent if he's fighting guys like this. And now Whittaker, this is his 10th fight? He's already got 10 fights now? I think this was the 10th.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, it's time then. You've got 10 fights. You've got an amateur pedigree. If you've got all of that, we're at the point now. Do you want to keep learning fights? The way you got to start clicking it up a little bit, because the guys he's been fighting Cameron was just Cameron's night that night. I think we can finally say that that was just his night. Because we've seen Cameron's last couple. You saw the rematch, and then you saw Cameron's last fight. There's nothing special about Cameron at all. That was just his night to shine, and he did. And I don't think Whittaker took him serious at all. I don't think he was prepared for that fight. So he didn't. So they've got to step him up. Hearn. That's one thing about Hearn. We give him a lot of shit, but he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. Look what he's done with all of Ben and all these other guys. So Whittaker they'll turn it up a little bit, but I don't see him facing anybody real for at least a year or so before he faces anybody that legitimately can beat him.
Well, the problem is like what happens in that year. Is it 2 fights, 3 fights? What are they going to put together there?
Because Hearn doesn't have. You think about it. Look at Hearn's moneymakers. He doesn't have a lot of young, up and coming moneymakers on his roster. As far as like the British side of it.
Yeah.
So, he needs Whittaker. Whittaker he can talk. He has all this. He has all that. It's there. I just don't think he's good enough I don't think he's good enough to make it what they want it to be. I mean, that's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, I think Rob Kelly joining us. And again, Rob, it's so tough to figure out because, what does this fight matter for Ben Whittaker? Where is he at in his career? What is his level? But I see a lot of upside. Like, obviously, he's athletic. He's got good punch. There's all sorts of things that we like to see in a boxing ring that Whittaker does, the way we'd like to see it done. But uh, regardless of that, I kind of think he's probably going to be one of those guys, and I hate to pull out but kind of like, because he's not a dickhead like him. Well, maybe he will be, but like kind of like Adrian Broner, where he is so athletic, he is so talented, he's got pop, and the distance, and it's weird, like the distance between him and the people below him is massive, but for some reason there's like really no peers around like equal to him, but there's people who are better than him. He's just kind of stuck in this area where he can demolish lesser guys, but he'll never have what it takes to get to the top. I don't know, just something I'm considering. What do you think?
I think we're writing Ben Whittaker off a little bit early, and people are going to cane me now because they're going to say I'm just saying this because he's with Andy Lee. But if you listen back to me about Whittaker, listen. I'm an old fucking curmudgeon, right? And I complain about everything, and that's part of fucking what we do here. Like, generally, was what the fuck is the DNA of the place around here? But when we look at the rut that boxing's in at the moment, we we're in a different time and space to where it's going. Like, you know what I mean? So while we have expectations over the fighters and that, a kind of balance has to be observed in. We have to understand what they're going to do with this guy. As they're speaking, the post own show last night, they're speaking a different language. They're talking about him. He's the third most followed boxer in Britain, I think, behind Fury and AJ. Like, so, in terms of his social media fucking impressions or whatever, that's where he is. He's a big star without having fought anyone, right? So Eddie knows how to keep a show on the road. They're not gonna. That's all equity. So all that stuff that we don't give a shit about, commercial value has always been at play in boxing. It's just never been broken down in terms of fucking algorithmic fucking analytics before. But that's the era we're living in. And Ryan Garcia fumbled the bag, right? If Britain can get a new exciting guy who puts eyes on the sport with a social media following behind him, we've seen how big some of the fucking misfits fights and how much money they've made in that. Like, he's in that space where he appeals to that generation, and he has all those Instagram clips and the optics and the like. He has a considerable bit of pull to have not won a world title and have Dizzy Rascal doing a ring walk for him. Who never fucking did a ring walk for anyone. Like, that's a big, like, that's not fucking happening out of nowhere. Like, there's a lot of interest in this guy. Eddie knows what he's doing. I mean, Eddie must have been fucking rubbing his hands together. He couldn't buy a star after fucking Conor Benn. Why do you think he spent so long on fucking on keeping that Conor Benn farce going? Like, he knew he was a big draw. He knew he was going to be able to make big money fights with him, and he knew he wasn't going to put him in with anyone that was going to kill him in the meantime. That happened with Anthony Joshua. Don't think it's not going to be different for Ben Whittaker. They're going to know how to keep the show on the road. So I saw Hamid online actually making some good points about about Benavidez and Whittaker being the same age, and at what level of fights what Benavidez was doing to people at that style, and that's fine. But Benavidez had to do it the hard way and earn his currency in the sport, where
And he
Whittaker
was
is
never going
coming
to be
in.
an amateur star either, right? Like, at some
Yeah,
point in time, someone looks
he's
at him and says, "Yeah, dude, you just need to go pro. That's what you're doing, kid."
coming in with the flash style. He's made fun of the journeyman. He got people. He knows what he's doing. I think Ben Whittaker as well. You know what I mean? He knows how to market himself. Like, so, not excusing any of that to say like what level he's at, and we should accept blah blah blah. But I think he did what he had to do last night. There was no fooling around, no fucking matador shit. He just went out flat the guy, bum bum, punches down the middle. I think he can definitely punch. I think he'd be a better fighter under Andy than he was beforehand. You know, he was with Sugar Hill messing about and that. But he hadn't really got any stability either. He's floating about, maybe kind of dealing with all the attention and all that. Like, so, I don't know what his ceiling is. I don't think he's going to be like something to. I wouldn't say Baturbiev or Bivol are looking at that going, oh no, I hope this guy doesn't fucking move up. You know what I mean? But at the same time, those two might hang around too much longer, and he might be presented with a nice pathway to grabbing a version of a world title at 75. And then, like we said, Eddie knows how to keep the show on the road. No matter what it is, he keeps the show on the road. He'll tell you one thing, another thing will happen. But one thing's for certain, he's better with Eddie Hearn than he was with fucking Ben Shalom. We'll get to him at another stage. But on his talent, I think he's a good fighter. I think he has something. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's with a good trainer now. He looked like he's sitting on his shots in the Cameron fight and the other one last night. So we don't know how good he is until we see him in with some live bodies. Am I sure that we're going to see him in with live bodies next? I think they'll probably have a 3 or 4 fight plan with him to keep him active now, and we might see another stiff getting iced because they'll keep the algorithm moving for him, and then they'll talk him into a British domestic before moving him along. Like, in Britain, there's tons of fighters he could face. That people keep mentioning the Lyndon Arthur one. I think that's a brilliant fight. I'd have Yard now as well if I was him. If he, not that, I know Yard's coming off a loss, a bad loss to Benavidez, but that kind of caliber of opponent now, where there's a bit of something about the fighter he's fighting to bring a bit of interest from their side as well, and we're not just seeing Ben Whittaker versus the opponent. Like, we need to start seeing some of these fights from him. But on his ceiling, I think he's a decent fighter. I don't know if there's question marks over him still, isn't there, over the first Cameron fight that he jacketed in that one. So as he goes up the levels and he gets hit a bit more, I'd be interested to see how he reacts to that. That way in the fight, and see can he make adjustments in the fight. And then I know a little bit more about him, but so far I haven't seen him face any adversity, so it's hard to really know where he is. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly it. And yeah, I mean, you'd like to think, well, if they have this plan of 3 or 4 fights before really moving them along, you'd at least hope they're trying to do that within the next calendar year, and they're not going to drag it out in 2 fights a year. This guy, but I don't know. Des, what were your thoughts on Whittaker yesterday? Anything that got you excited, got you out of your seat a little, or just kind of a little bit ho hum on the whole thing?
No, I mean, it was to be expected last night. And look, I think they've done with Whittaker what they've done with Joshua. They've pitched it too high. They've told us he's the second coming of Naz, and he's not. That doesn't mean you can't be a good fighter. Doesn't mean you can't be talented. But he's not Naz. And if anyone followed Naz's career from the start, what Naz was doing after 12 fights was never seen before. He was brilliant. We wasn't used to that in British boxing. The way he went about his work, the flash, the razzmatazz, the power. Whittaker's not that guy. Whittaker's not icing European champions, seasoned world-class fighters at this stage in his career. He's not doing that. Whittaker's fighting guys that couldn't win an area belt. And I think that's probably where the discrepancy lies. I agree with Rob. We can all see he's a good fighter. We can all see he's a talent. You don't pick up silver medals at the Olympics. You don't become national champions. You don't become the best kid in Europe in the amateurs if you ain't got talent. And what we've seen in now is that he can sell, and he's part of this, what they call TikTok generation. There's eyes on him. He does numbers, whatever that means. But we haven't seen enough of it at the right level in the pro boxing ring. So we've seen Whittaker now, since he turned over. He's had 10. He's stopped 7 of them. I don't see the sense in holding him back now. Now, when I say holding him back, I don't mean sticking him in with David Morale or putting him in there with, a Beterbiev or Gudovotnich. I don't mean that. But there's loads of kids at domestic level where we could get so much money out of them. You could, people like Shaq and Pitters, Lerone Richards, Bradley Rhea, Zach Chelly, Mark Jeffers, Dan Aziz. All these guys have held multiple losses, and they'll give us recognition. And I think if Ben was to go against them guys, I think he wins them fights, but he learns a lot doing it. And then after that, you could look at the Anthony Yards, the Willie Hutchinsons, the Joshua Boatzis, the Callum Smiths, because he could do all this in 18 months. So I suppose the answer to the question is, I do like what I'm seeing in a professional sense. With regards to the talking and the rapping, I don't give that the time of day, to be honest. But I like what I see when he's in the ring. I think he's got a high ceiling. But there seems to be this, we're going to match Joshua with John Joe Molina. Then we're going to match him with Dominic Breesdale. And we're going to somehow get Charles Martin over here with a title so Joshua can win it. And they're kind of doing the same thing with Ben now. And as boxing fans, we've seen this before. So don't step him up too much, but let's give him guys that we recognise, guys that have won domestic titles, but have still held losses. And let's see how Ben gets on. I think he beats them all. But I think in the next 18 months to 2.5 years, we could see Ben Whittaker have perhaps 7 to 9 fights. And then we could see him hanging around that world-class frame, somewhere in the top 8, the top 5. And by that time, the landscape would have changed. and maybe Ben go and get himself a world title and become a genuine world champion. But the next 2.5 years is crucial. And I agree with everything Rob said. I just want to see him get a bit of a move on with this, though.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, and you mentioned, I mean, there's so many fighters at 175, like you can kind of see like a clear ladder for him to kind of get where he wants to go. The unfortunate thing for Whittaker and for his promoters is they realize, and I hate to break it to folks who are super high on Whittaker, and I mean, obviously age, ultimately starts to equalize all things, but at anywhere close to their prime, like this 175-pound division, Whittaker doesn't have what it takes to take a title off of Benavidez or Bivol. I hate to break it to you. I mean, Benavidez might be gone. Shit, that might be his route. Anyhow, Benavidez might be gone in the division. But yeah, it's a stacked division, and I don't think that they can kind of gift him a title the way that they did AJ in a way. I don't necessarily see that path. Like, you look at 175-pound, and there's just no route to being a title holder of any legitimacy that's soft.
Yeah.
There's no route.
What I just said was giving him the next 2.5 years where he ain't got to do that. He can make that ground up. You've got guys like Willie Hutchinson, Bill Artsy, Zach Parker, Anthony Yard, Craig Richards, Lyndon Arthur, Dan Aziz, Mark Jeffers, Zach Shelley, Bradley Rhea. He's got 2.5 years work there, and by the time he gets here, he might be good enough. He's certainly got a high ceiling. And if he stands all them kids on their heads, if he has a couple of up and downs with them, if when he gets there, we've seen him get off the floor, we've seen him turn a fight around, we've seen him knock people out in the first 2 or 3 rounds, we've seen him go to 12. If he can say, listen, for the last 2 years, I've answered all them questions, then we've got one. But the next 2 years, don't even talk about Beterbiev or Bivol or that lot.
No,
don't even talk about them.
I like
talk about them. Waste of time.
Chelly and Rhea would be good for his next 2 fights. That would be Chelly would bring like the pressure and with the effort. Rhea would bring a different. I like those 2 fights if you're going to fight the domestic route.
Well, if they don't think he's ready for fighters of that caliber, no offense to them, because I think they are good domestic operators. I think that would go to show where like the discomfort of his promoters and moving him along if they're not willing to take that route. If not the next fight, the one after.
Matty, if the promoters and the trainers and the managers don't think Ben Whittaker is ready for Zach Chelly or Bradley Rhea, they're doing. Then British boxing is dead. Ben Whittaker's ready for them guys now. Ben Whittaker can fight Bradley Rhea, Mark Jeffers, Zach Chelly, Dan Aziz. He could box him on his next one. This kid's been a world-class amateur. He's done 2 Olympic cycles. He's had 10 pro fights. No, he's ready.
He's at 11. Yeah. He's at 11. Yeah, absolutely. And so that was, I don't know about that card. I didn't catch all of it, unfortunately. Actually, I only caught that. I watched like 90 seconds of boxing last night, unfortunately, as far as that card went. I just couldn't quite get up for it. But we do what we can. There was a draw on there, though. I love me a good draw. I missed this one. Cameron Vaughn and Gavin Gwynn battle into a majority draw there. What'd you think on that one, Justin? Fair call, even contest?
I'll let Des handle the breakdown on that more. I think Vong or Vuong or however you want to say his damn name. Vong. I think he probably won the first 3, maybe 4 rounds, and then Gwynn kind of took his pressure, took over the last part of the fight. So I have no problem with the draw. You can maybe lean Gwynn, but there's no I don't think there's any real controversy in that one. Okay,
a good legitimate draw. Des, I like a good legitimate draw. Were these 2 evenly matched kids who ended up with the judges not able to separate them legitimately, or did you lean a direction?
The only thing I've seen on this card was the Whittaker fight and Fran Hennessy's entrance. I'm going to have to defer this to Rob.
Rob, I
appreciate Justin passing over to me, and I normally would, but the only thing I saw was the main event and Fran Hennessy's entrance.
Des, that's when you got to lie, Des, and be like, "Yeah, I like the draw. It was a good draw." That's what you just say. Yep.
Rob, did you actually cover the what other people didn't cover this week? Let's find out here. Inquiring minds want to know.
I saw Big Jamie, TKV, and Fraser Clark, and I saw highlights of Fran Hennessy, and then I saw fucking Ben Whittaker, and that was it
Jesus.
for me.
Yeah, we're really into it this week. We're like, watch
Yeah.
fucking Canes. Yeah, well, sorry folks if we couldn't give you a greater breakdown on that one.
Well, mate,
But it was a good draw.
can I just say something that
You're
just
fine,
to sort of,
man. Yeah.
just to touch back on what we were talking about with Ben Whittaker, and I know you might have inadvertently sort of guided it this way or think this way, and perhaps you guys in America, I know your and Justin's knowledge on domestic titles over here is phenomenal, but we talk like you have to fast track the Ben Whittakers over, like helicopter them over domestic titles. And the first 3 or 4 years of their pro career, historically in this country, whether you're coming out of Olympic Games or a Commonwealth Games with a medal, or you won a national ABA title, the first 3 to 4 years historically have always been go and get yourself a Southern Area title, defend it, relinquish it, go and see if you can win a British or a Commonwealth. And if you can, defend it, relinquish it, then move up to a European, get yourself a world ranking, and then test the waters. Bring in kids that, you know, will ask a lot of questions of you. And then, as a European champion, go and fight a kid from North America or South America. And someone that you should beat, but you're going to have to work really hard for it. And by the time you get there, you're going to be world class.
It's funny.
There's a lot of helicoptering at the moment.
It's funny to say, in whether they're doing it purposely, Des, or it's just by happenstance of the way the world is evolving. There did used to be like a very predictable path for British fighters as they're bringing them up. You know, like they their first fight, they go in against the 3-65 journeyman who's going to take them 4 rounds for sure and see what they can do. And if they happen to stop that guy, then people are really looking at him like, wow, he's only been stopped 4 times before by these, you know, fighters that we all know by name. Interesting story. And then they get him a couple of more kind of around like maybe the 500 area domestic competition. Then they pull in some sort of like a 16-5 Spaniard kind of guy, you know, you get a winning record, and then they get him in that area title contest. Defense. Then they try to get him into the English title, or maybe even the Commonwealth. They're really moving him along, and then they have 1-2 more fights after that, and then they're fighting for a title at around, if they go the whole path, at around 20 fights. That was the blueprint, and now it's no longer the fucking blueprint. Like, I don't know when things changed, like when I fell asleep, and that's not how things are done anymore. But it changed.
But how they used to speak, and I know we have to move with the times, I know we have to evolve, but there's certain things you can take with you can bring them along. And how the speech used to be, well, while we've got monsters like Benavidez and Bivol and Beterbiev, wise heads would sit down with that Ben Whittaker and say, well, Benavidez is moving up, he can't keep the weight. Beterbiev is breaking down, he won't be here in 2 years. And we don't quite know where Biv was going to go. And he's had 2 hard fights with Beterbiev. So let's give him another 2 years. So do you know what, Ben? Let's spend the next 2.5 years picking up a right few quid, picking up loads of domestic titles, beating really good kids incrementally. And by the time we get there, they're either gone or we're catching them on the way down. And that's how it's always been done. So to kind of repeat myself and just to sort of cement where we are with this, there's nothing wrong with Ben Whittaker having really interesting, entertaining domestic matchups for the next 18 months to 2 years. That there's so much value in that, and we've got the kids to do it. And then after 2 years, then we can open a few doors for him. But I think he'll get there. I think he's better. I think he's got more talent than a lot of these kids. And I think with regards Lyndon Arthur and Willie Hutchinson, and maybe even Callum Smith, and definitely Anthony Yard, he might be catching these kids just at the right time. He might be that Lloyd Hunnigan coming through the scene, and he might get to the very top and fight for the big one. But we don't have to put him there now. We've got a wonderful thing now. We've got 2 years with a talented kid, with a good promotional company, with a good trainer. Let's go for it. Let's do it properly. We don't have to fast track him. And British and domestic titles have such a value in that regard.
Well, I think it's important that they maintain their value too, just in the sense of it's so important to acknowledge the history of the sport, and there's so many great fighters over the years. I mean, literally, you're talking, around a century now, who held, the Commonwealth title and area belts at different times. It's just part of the lore of British boxing. And one stage I missed there was, sorry, the European title fight after the Commonwealth. You got to have that one in there before you fight for the
Matt, I
world
interrupt
title.
you. Well, Matt, you remember over here our own little version of domestic. Remember, it used to matter.
We used to have the NABO and
Yeah,
NABF belt
Yeah,
matter.
we did.
It used to matter for that. That was like a stepping stone over here. Like you would have a guy work like Floyd. All those guys would like, well, he's got to win this. Then he's got to win the NABF. Then he's got to move this level up. They've got rid of that now. That shit's done. Those titles don't even. You never even hear about them being fought for anymore.
Yeah, and that used
They're
to be
just done almost.
You tune in to watch a prospect coming up.
Yep.
He'd be on Friday Night Fights.
Yes,
fighting.
Showtime, Showbox, and fight for like a WBA NA thing, and that was like your stepping stone. You had to like pass that level, but they have skipped that shit. I mean, those belts you haven't seen. I haven't seen them on TV. Even ProBox doesn't even have those.
It's because everything has to be an event, and the problem is
everything has to be immediate. Like you have immediate satisfaction too.
They're throwing so much money because think about that. Like, and we're really getting derailed here, but like we obviously didn't watch a whole lot this week, and whatever. So we'll just go where the conversation goes. But I was thinking about this today. So Devin Haney made $12 million to fight Brian Norman, right? That's his contract guarantee right now. So let's think about that for a second. And this is really difficult in Saudi Arabia with these small arenas and shit like that, where there's hardly anybody there. There's all these comp tickets because they're all, royal bigwigs, blah, all that shit. But so if you think about it, $12 million, Devin Haney at a $50 pay-per-view would have to be moving around. God, what would it be about? You'd have to move about 50,000 units at that price. But I mean, I'm sorry, I had the math in my head earlier. But if you take the gate, the ticket sales, the pay-per-view, and all that, Devin Haney doesn't produce that money. Can anybody tell me, honestly say that they think the gate in Saudi Arabia plus the pay-per-view sales that they did last week cover Devin Haney's purse alone? Fuck no. And everything has to be an event. They don't do these small things anymore, hardly. I just watched over my shoulder, Konstantin Ursu just won a Euro belt at York Hall. These kind of things that need to be happening. But the only reason it's happening is because nobody knows who this fucking Moldovan is. Nobody gives a shit. So he goes the traditional route. But the money involved to create this, it's not there, especially with this Saudi shit. If you go to Las Vegas to a 20,000 seat arena for the sake of math, T-Mobile's a little bit less than that. Yeah, and you average $500 a ticket. Well, I mean, at that point in time, you actually can pump up the money that you're saying that you're getting on there. There's tangible value at that point in time. But with these Saudi cards, with these small venues and shit, the money's not there. It's a black hole, and DAZN just fucked the Belgian soccer league too because it's not working for them. Watch the chips fall. But let's move on because we talk about this every goddamn week. Shocker, Jamie TKV getting a win over Big Freeze. Clark just not with it apparently. I didn't catch this fight. Didn't seem too interested in it. But apparently it was all right. And TKV did the business. Rob, what were your thoughts?
There's a lot of thoughts.
Like, damn it, I wish I would have bet on him, son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot to unpack with this one. He's right. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say delivered on in terms of a spectacle. It was the return to terrestrial TV for boxing in Britain, which is a big, kind of throwback to the days of old where the BBC was an institution in sport and everybody watched their big fights on terrestrial telly. Things have changed, obviously, but being back on the BBC, in theory, would give it exposure to a wider audience. In terms of the promotion, it looks like they haven't upgraded much since in the 20 years that they've been off boxing. You had Ronald McIntyre as an commentator on comms, partnered by George Groves. Um, it was poor enough from a like if that's Boxer's big move on the terrestrial scene. Poor again. Never take a tip off Ben Shalom on a horse, by the way, because if he's fucking back the wrong one on every fighter since he's got the Boxer, which has been an unmitigated shit show, and it ended up getting canned off Sky Sports, rescued onto terrestrial TV. They moved this fight, didn't they, from the first? This was scheduled to happen on the night of Joe Parker and Fabio Wardley. Um, Good for them that it didn't. They had it. Look, I saw Jamie TKV. Uh, like the condition of the guy, I was worried for him after the first round. Fighters, heavyweight fighters come in all shapes and sizes, but you generally, if your tit is underneath your armpit, it's not a great sign. Do you know that way? Like, so he didn't look in the best of nick. He didn't look in the best of nick, like, and he was taking shots in the first round, and I thought Fraser Clark was getting on top of him. But they say he has a wrestling background. This guy, Jamie TKV, an Olympic wrestler, and an entertainment wrestler called Big Papa T, which I didn't know. This was all news to me. But he started to lock
Him
Big
and
Fraser
Anthony
up.
Ogogo, huh?
Yeah, he started to lock Big Fraser up in around 4. The two of them were going for the uppercuts down the middle. I would have liked to see from Fraser Clark's point of view a little half step back. He seemed like he was just trudging forward, trying to use his power, rely on TKV, and he was throwing 1-2s, but without any feints. There was no feinting. There was no kind of little half step back, drop the 1-2, jab, step back, 1-2, where he started with some good intentions to throw to TKV's body, which you would have thought was a great strategy because see the fucking nick he was in, like. But he held those body shots. He started to wrap Fraser up, and then Fraser started to get really tired. And I think Des will be able to probably speak on this better than me because I think he may have predicted this happening. I feel like I heard Des say this before about Fraser that he might look to give it up now because he lost the 2 fights to Fabio. He's gone on to do different things, and then last night when he was under pressure, you could see it felt like the doubt was swallowing him up in the ring, in that he shouldn't have been maybe conceding that much real estate in the center. He was allowing himself to get kind of backed up. TKV started to clock him, and then by the 10th and 11th, he was a complete spent force, and he should have been pulled out of the fight. Being realistic, he should have been pulled out of the fight. We talk about early stoppage there a while back for Parker. I didn't think it was an early stoppage on the night. Particularly early stoppage like in that you couldn't see it being, like a total disgrace or whatever. I could see there were so many unanswered shots. You have to protect fellas at heavyweight, but fuck me, Fraser Fraser Clark looked like he didn't know where he was in the 12th round, and he didn't pull him out. He should have been pulled out after the 10th and 11th. He took probably unnecessary punishment. Hung in there till the final bell. I don't know where he goes from here. Like they were talking about him versus Dave Allen as the next fight, which would have been a big one on the BBC. Like, but that fight's gone now, and Jamie TKV is the champion. But that's Ben Shalom's hope. Like again, Fraser Clark, another fighter that he backed, that he wasn't able to do anything with and wasn't able to deliver for, ends up getting another shot at it and doesn't hit the mark again. So you got to wonder what Ben Shalom was thinking and what's going through his head. That this is definitely a period where he's completely underdressed. But not to give a fuck about Ben Shalom, we spent too much time about all the promoters. The fighters themselves, it was a very, very poor contest. Me saying that, I'm recapping it and I'm probably making it sound like it was a better fight than it was. It was a close fight, but it was, as Isaac Lowe would say, in my eyes, I don't want to say bums because one of them looked like he got hurt. 2 bums, 2 big fucking, a big behemoth and 2 just fucking, not bums. Bums is too harsh, but not fucking, not worth fucking getting out of your seat
I
over.
don't
Not
think you
like
saw 2 of the top 5 heavyweights in the UK last night. I'll say that.
yeah, like it the fight was close and it had a certain amount of drama, but the quality in it was non-existent. It was a horrible, ugly, fucking fat brawl fest. And I didn't enjoy it. So there you go. But hopefully you enjoyed the breakdown, Maddie. These are you know what I mean. You have to every cloud.
No, Rob, I legitimately felt like I was there now. So yeah, Des, go ahead and take that breakdown. What do you think in this fight? I do think that you might have said we were writing off TKV last week. I can't remember. Maybe you did. Who knows? 7 days is a lot of time.
I thought Fraser would have enough. I thought he'd have the better motor skills of the two. And Rob picked up on some really good points across what he was saying, and he's right. There's quite a lot to talk about with this one because it wasn't a cut and dry. It was a good fight or a bad fight because technically it looked like two kids fighting for an English title, but they put so much on the line for us. And if you ever want to see, not that you'd want to see it, but if you ever want to see a fighter come close to being really hurt, that was Fraser Clark sitting down on his stool at the end of the 11th. And we, on the one side, the fact that they can't punch, the pair of them, might be a godsend, but it also might be what could end up hurting them in the end. Because if either kid could punch, that fight wouldn't have gone 8 or 9 rounds because they was both taking a lot of shots. They was both there to be hit. So I don't know what's the better of the two. I remember, I think it was Joe Lewis had an opponent that he really liked. He said, "I'm going to knock him out in the first 3 rounds. I don't want him to go too long." And he did knock him out in the first round. He said, "I've done that because I liked him. Because the longer this fight goes, the more punishment he sustains." And that's what can happen when two kids don't punch hard. You end up getting a fight like last night. And
yeah, a lot of the guys were worried about
and they were right
Frazier after the fight. So get the guy some oxygen and
No,
get
they
him
were
out
right
the
to
fucking
be.
door.
They were right to be. You mean the nutters in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're right to be too. Like he was definitely concussed. He was lacking oxygen. He was just about standing up on his 2 feet. He was all over the place. And I'm talking when the cards were being calculated. You've heard me say this before. And get that kid sat down, get him some oxygen, get him in an ambulance, and get him into observation ward. That should have been Fraser Clark last night at the end of that fight. We shouldn't have had him in that ring for another 25 minutes. But that's boxing. Fraser's one of these kids that has come out of an Olympics. He's probably hit 3 cycles while he was an amateur. But there's a reason for that, and that's probably because he weren't tearing through everybody. I mean, he was probably an understudy of Joe Joyce, who was an understudy of Anthony Joshua. Then he was an understudy of Joe Joyce, and then he eventually went. So, although he's come out of the Olympics with a medal, it doesn't really tell us how good he is, particularly in this current crop of heavyweights we've got in Britain. And I would look at Fraser and I would say, if you go back 15 years, when you had Danny Williams and Michael Sprott and Keith Long and Julius Francis and Scott Welch, and I would put Fraser Clark in with that lot. I'd say, you know what, Fraser, you're going to be a really fun and exciting domestic heavyweight. You might pick up a version of a title like a British or a Commonwealth. You might even pick up a European. But you're going to be that kid. You are a kid of a level. Like Audley Harrison was, like Davy Price was.
But Des, I think Michael Sprott beats the fuck out of Fraser Clark.
I do.
I think he lays it. I don't think that goes 3 or 4 rounds. He beats the shit out of Fraser Clark, in my opinion.
Yeah, so to come back to that then, so I wouldn't put him in with Danny Williams either. But what I would do, I'd say, do you know what? We've got a group in this country now. You've got Hughie Fury, David Adelaide, you've got Solly Dakers, Fraser Clark, you've got TKV, Jordan Thompson's just come into that group. Dave Allen sells the ticket. Johnny Fisher's 2 or 3 wins away from being part of that group, whether he beats any of them or not. Lawrence Okoli's unproven heavyweight just yet. So we could have a really exciting domestic thing. Forget world levels. Forget Moses and forget Bacoli and Usyk, and if Fury and AJ want to carry on. I'm not talking about that tier. This is a group at domestic level, and we could have a bit of fun out of it. And that's where I would say Fraser belongs. And I think Jamie belongs there too. And Jamie would probably beat a Dave Allen. He'd beat a Solly Dakers, but Dave Adelaide probably beats him. And then maybe Fraser beats David Adelaide. And you could have these like merry-go-rounds, these round robins. You could get a lot of value out of these heavyweight kids we've got at the moment. Because I think British and Commonwealth titles is as far as they go. So I want to say well done for last night because you put an awful lot on the line for us. And it was nice to see TKV coming back and winning a fight that not a lot of people thought he could win. technically, if I'm going to break it down, I thought Fraser won the first 4 rounds, but Rob said it and he was bang right. He's just not mobile enough. Fraser fights like he's a puncher, but he's too easy to hit and he don't hit hard enough. And TKV started to get to him, really get to him. And Fraser don't hold a shot well. And we'll never know at this point what the 2 Wardley fights and last night have taken out of Fraser, because he don't seem to look comfortable in the mixer. He don't look comfortable when he's taking shots. He seems to be a bit stiff, and he seems to go a little bit into like an anxiety mode. He don't seem to handle it well. And when guys like Jamie TKV, and we know what heavyweights can look like, but Jamie TKV, he looked a bit of a state last night. If he's out punching you, out working you, and out mixing you in the mixer, you're in trouble. So Fraser's got his own issues, his own things to deal with. Can he come back? Well, the group of guys I've just said, he could definitely get in them fights. He's definitely part of that scene. Does he win the European title? I doubt it very much. I think a good European would sort him right out. Does he win a British title? It depends. Who moves on, who vacates, but this is the second time he's fought for it now. Where does TKV go? I think he belongs in that group that we just spoke about. I just think they're, as Liam Wynn would say, my mate, they're 2 kids of a level. And I think that's where they belong. We could have loads of value out of them. We could have loads of fun nights. But let's not talk about Riyadh Cards and Usyk and Moses and Fury. They'll never, ever get to that lot. These are really good, entertaining, domestic kids that bounce between English titles and British titles. And we might have a load of fun out of it for the next couple of years. But I think that's as far as it goes.
Well, and I think at this moment, it's kind of, to give respect to a friend of the pod, Harvey Dykes. He has 2 wins over TKV in the AMs. So one of those guys that's kind of sneaking around the division
Get
there.
that fucking trilogy made, baby.
Fucking A.
The boxer needs something. Fuck me. Anything is possible.
This time we mean business.
Fucking Ronald.
Something Chris Butler just said there, guys. And if Fraser, he says Fraser drew with Wardley, and he thought he won that night. I thought he won that night too. And last night was a split. And this is the thing, like not now, next week or the week after, but sometime in January, February, when Fraser starts getting back in the gym, he will think like that. He'll go, do you know what? I had a split with Wardley and got caught cold in the second. That can happen to anyone. And the TKV fight was another split. So he won't look at this. Will end up becoming a positive for Fraser if he wants to continue. But I just think there should be we should have a very clear, people around Fraser should have a very clear ceiling to where he's going to go. He doesn't go any higher than British level.
I think he should I think he should quit.
He could do, yeah. He could,
because did you see when he went to his corner after that round? He was, I mean, they were like holding him up. He was sitting on his stool, and he didn't know where he was. He was hunched over. He was fucked.
It didn't look good last. That didn't look good. I think he's going to need time out.
He broke his jaw already. He's like Des. You just summed it up. What you just said. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to make enough money to make this worth it fighting TKVs, and he needs to hang this up. He's only going to get hurt. He won't like watching that broadcast back. The commentator is the commentator like Larry David, where he's in a secret ball club where he just want to keep mentioning. He kept mentioning his bald head. He's like, here comes a jab by TKV that snapped back the bald head of Fraser Clark. Like, shit, man, you're bald too. What is this? The bald cult? Like, and then he was like, there's some damage over presumably where his hairline used to be. Like, stop saying he's bald. We can see it. Like, hey, I'm bald, and I didn't appreciate the bald.
You didn't appreciate it. Yeah, you didn't want to get the bald shout out from Ronald fucking McIntyre. Fuck me, man. What was that about?
Justin, with Fraser Clark, if you said to him, look, we can get you 3 or 4 fights, you might win more than you'll lose, but you're going to be entertaining, you're going to get well paid. In the next 2.5 years, I think we can get you about 200 to 250 grand. And then what that'll do, you'll be on BBC, you'll be alive on TV, you can work on your brand. And at the end of that, you might have a Commonwealth title, you might have a British title. And then what you can do after that is You might want to open a security company. You might want to open up a personal training company. You might want to open up a gym where you come from. I just think that I think Fraser's now got to be looking, what can I do for the next 2 years that supports me and stepping stones me into my next phase of my life.
But I don't think he beats it. But I don't think he beats any of those guys. I don't think he beats David Adelaide. I don't think he beats Dave Allen. And so it's like you're just going to. I mean, I know the money's there. I don't think he does. Frazier Clark is not in. Last night showed it. TKV was a sloppy fucking mess. Like Rob said, titties hanging down past his knees. He ran out of gas. Both guys were gassed after 3 rounds. Frazier Clark doesn't have the conditioning. He doesn't have the punch. He doesn't have the chin. He's just setting himself up to get completely obliterated over and over again. His last 3 or 4 fights, he's been badly hurt. He's been struggling to get around. I don't know why you keep throwing him out there when there's no upside. Yeah, he might make a few dollars, but the man, you got to start looking at health and everything. I mean, last night I have not seen a guy that out of it in a fight in a long time finish. I can't believe he finished. I cannot believe he even made it through that last round or so because he didn't know where he was the final 2 rounds. He didn't know anything was going on.
They rolled the dice. Yeah, they really rolled the dice with his health.
I don't see any upside. I don't think he beats any of the other domestic guys. I just don't see he beats any of them.
Damn. Well, there you go. Justin's advice. Hang him up, Phrase.
Interesting last round, though. And there's no right or wrong to this. You have to assume that a trainer knows his kid. But it got me thinking. When he sat down at the end of the 11th, Angel Fernandez said, if I don't see something from you, if you don't show me something, I'm going to pull you out. I'm going to stop this fight.
Right? Pull him out there.
And then Fraser kind of went a little bit vacant and glazed. And he went, I'm going to stop this now, Fraser. I'm pulling it. And he woke up a bit. Now, he obviously knows his kid. But it took me back to when Nigel Benn fought Gerald McClellan. And what a contrast. And this is not a right or wrong way of doing it. It's just knowing your kid. And Nigel Benn had the worst first round you could ever imagine. He was punched through the ropes outside the ring. Now to help him back in. I think he got dropped again. He was given a hiding of all hidings. And he sat down on his stool. And Denny Mancini said to him, Nigel, he's absolutely shot. He can't believe you've survived that round. He's finished. He was gutted. He's done. Go out there and stick it on him. And it's interesting how in that moment, the type of language you use to get your kid over the next 3 minutes, just to get him back in this. And I wonder if Angel had said to Fraser last night, Fraser, he can't hold his hands up. He's finished. He's done. I wonder if you'd have got a better response out of him. But it's just I'm just comparing the two different
I saw that a bit differently in that he recognised that he should have been pulled out. So fucking pull him out. Like he didn't give you anything, surely. Well, maybe he knows his guy or whatever he knows. But what's he given you previously to suggest that he go out and leave it all,
and Rob,
turn it all around in the 12th?
If he thinks for 1 minute, if he thinks for 1 minute he should have pulled him out, then he should have done.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was very close.
That's what I took from that when he said, like, Fraser, I'm going to pull this, I'm going to stop it. He surely knew that he was going to stop it when he didn't fucking answer him. You know.
That's what you get paid for. You get paid to save your own guy. Yeah. If it crosses your mind, then you got to do it.
This fella, I don't know much about him, but he's been around a lot of top fighters. And what's his big breakout win? Like, where's he had his big moment? What am I trying to say here? Where's he had his big moment? Like his big defining moment that so many people put so much trust in him, because he's been around Big Fraser, been around Joshua. Who else has he been around? Actually, there's another one that evaporated. Anyway, I'll probably be giving too much time to this guy now, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yes, I do know what you're getting at. But yeah, it's that's about as much energy as we can spend on these guys. I think we exerted about as much as they exerted in the ring. We're hanging on.
Rob, sport is like music. You'll be surprised. Like the guy that used to drive the coach is now the assistant manager. You know, the guy that used to sweep up is now the executive producer. If you hang around long enough, you can step into people's shoes.
Yeah, especially in boxing, because it's fucking the Wild West. You just need to get close to a couple of trainers. You can be a trainer. Do you know what I mean? Not saying that's the case.
I know people that have got skip companies. and they've sponsored enough fighters. Now they're wearing tracksuits, holding buckets in professional corners. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so easy to slip in. It really
I held
is.
on myself. I was there with the gown on me and everything. I've been in the corner. I know what the crack is. If you wanted to fully immerse yourself in that world,
Yeah, it don't take
it's
long.
boxing is the wild west for born bullshitters, Walter Middies, fellas who never
Yeah.
fucking put on a boxing boot, gum shield, fucking cup, none of that. Like, and they could fucking mix with the best of them, and some
But
of
it
them made a
works
shitload of money
sometimes.
out of it. Yeah, hell yeah, of
Like,
course
think
it does.
about Jack Lowe. Like, the only fucking word he knew was jab. Motherfucker is like laying asphalt during the fucking day and shit like that, training Cali Pavlik, and he just happened to get a guy with one of the best goddamn right hands that I've ever seen, and made people want to go train under him. Like, Jack Lowe doesn't know fuck about shit.
It's
And boxers are easily impressed. Boxers are very easily impressed. They're very needy.
yeah.
And if you turn up and give someone 50 quid a week to wear a t-shirt, they'll do it. You know, if you look, I've said this story before on the pod. You know, you get a kid who gets into the gym because he knows one of the boxers and he stands at the back quiet as a mouse, don't say a word. Then one day someone needs a favour and he can't do it quick enough. He gets closer and closer to that ring. And then before you know it, he's taking boxers home, talking to them, coming back, telling the trainer how he should be doing it. Before you know it, he's the head trainer and the trainer's somewhere else. And
Yeah.
if you look at these boxers, all of them, they all started with another trainer, nicked one of their fighters and went to another gym, and now they open up their own thing. It's very much like that, which is why most trainers now have got their son as the manager or their nephew as the agent or something. You know what I mean? As the,
Mm.
they or it's you've got in certain parts of East London, you might have 4 different trainers in 4 different gyms because they won't dare let anyone in the gym with them because so many trainers nick fighters of each other. People slip in, get down people's ear holes, and before you know it, they're in it. They're doing their own thing, or we want to share the duties. And trainers are like, well, I'm either got to get rid of him or I've got to be marginalised, and it happens all the time. So yeah, it's the Wild West. Anyone with a few quid can slip in. Anyone with a big smile and plenty of charm can get a foot in the door. And this fella you're talking about here, Fernandez, I don't know what his background is. I don't know where he come from. But there's a lot of PTs now with Instagram accounts slipping into boxing. I'm not
Oh
saying
my
that is
god.
in, by the way, but they are
I'm
slipping in.
Isn't that how
when you're
Boxercise
talking,
got noticed?
I'm well, that's what I'm saying. I'm picturing Ben Davison in my head, but I know, like, I don't want to fucking, because Ben Davison has done some good things and he has made some
Yeah.
great
He has,
calls in
yeah,
big
he has,
fights.
yeah, yeah.
Can't take it away from him. The thing, I don't think anyone was taking it away from him. I think that was a cool story that Fiore gave him a shot, like, go get that girl's number, and if you can do that, then basically he can be my trainer. And he took full advantage of it. The problem was with Ben Davison is that when he got in, then he started to try and, like, make us believe, the public believe, that Fury got him because he does such unrivaled work when it comes to archival footage and breaking it down. Like, no, it wasn't, asshole. He told you to go. He told you to go get a number. You did it, and then he went with it because he's a nutcase. And it turned out you worked it to your benefit. But then all of a sudden, he's producing dossiers and sending them to fucking Bill Haney and that. Like, it just fucking come on, man. But he's made good on his opportunity, and you know that's fucking fair play to him. He has proved to be a decent coach at a certain level, but he was like a fucking, he was an easy target for us over the years, wasn't he? Like, fucking with
Yeah.
his unrivaled work, like as if he's the only, as if before fucking he got the job of Fury, he's sitting at home like Costamato and Mike Tyson in the fucking
Right, so
with the
Robbie,
Jim Jacobs archive, like going through all the footage and all. He wasn't his balls, like.
right, let's go through this. Like, and just we're not here to slaughter people, and we know how
I
hard,
am here to slaughter some people.
we know how hard a boxing trainer's job is. Right, they have to get 50 grand a year. They've got to have a gym making £500,000 between them. That's unheard of in British boxing. You might have one or maybe one or two, but if fighters are earning that sort of money, they stick their trainers on wages. It gets really difficult to earn money in boxing. You've got to have so much going on. You have a little bit of luck. But let's go through it. Where would Dominic Ingle be without his dad? Would he even have a fighter? Where would Mark Tibbs be without Jimmy? Would he have a fighter? Where would Enzo be without Joe? Where would Adam Booth be without David A? Like, there isn't, other than your likes of your Shane McGuigans, who slipped in on his dad's name as well, but he's really provided a body of work to fall on. When you think back to people like Joe Gallagher, who spent a life in the amateurs in Moss Side, then looked after Champs Camp, then went round the domestic scene, has never really been given an Olympian, has never really been given a top kid, but somehow gets a tune out of all these fighters. And he's done a bit of a Brendan Ingle. He knows how to win domestic belts and European belts and fight for world titles. And he's always got a busy gym. But other than them sort of guys, most trainers in boxing have slipped in on the back of somebody else. I mean, they're not here like. I think that's why a lot of us
not like
quite
hearing the stories of Teddy Atlas and basically interning for Customato.
Freddie Roach interning for correct, yeah.
Yes,
Who's the guy that Freddie Roach interned
Eddie
for?
Futch, I think it was.
Eddie Futch, yeah. Eddie Futch, and he said I worked for Eddie for about 15 years, and I got about $500 a year for it. He was going to go to the poorhouse, working with Eddie, and he had to go through that. And we look at guys like Andy Lee that were stellar amateurs and really good pros and worked with the very best trainers all around the world. You kind of think, no, it's there. He's got the intellectual capital that I want. That's the type of guy that I want to be around from start to finish, top to bottom. He knows exactly what this game involves and what I've got to be and what I've got to do. But how many of them are in boxing at the moment? We don't get many of them. So I think that's why when you get guys like Andy Lee come into it, and I know there's that old saying, he's the flavour of the month and it's go to Andy Lee. But when you look around the landscape of British trainers, Irish trainers, he's one of the few now that we've got that you can say, if I had to put a kid with someone, if I had to have someone in the corner that knew this game, top to bottom, Andy Lee does fit that description.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fair play to him on that. But yeah, let's move this.
I gotta get listeners. Remind me, we gotta get Andy back on there. We're talking about doing that, and we're gonna hit him up over Christmas to see can we get him if it's quiet.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Fucking
A. And jump on again, like just talk about because Des is right. Like he is sought after, but like his experience, you got to think coming from because like there's some really good archival stuff on Instagram about on the Kronk Gym Instagram account, and it shows a lot of Manny's old pad sessions and stuff. But the way Manny used to do pads was like not the flow pad style. He wanted to emulate fight situations. So you just think about Andy as a coach. Like he used to live with Manny, like, and all they did was talk about boxing all day, train in the gym, go talk about boxing, watch boxing fights. So you can imagine the kind of shit that he's picked up as a coach, and having that experience as well as that learning the same. When Sugar Hill was doing his apprenticeship basically under Manny, like, so he was there with him as well, Joey Gavazi. So you got to think like that's not like everyday stuff you can tap into over here. Like, is it on this side of the world? Like, you know what I mean? It's once in a lifetime shit. So yeah, it's worked out for him so far. He's had a lot of success. Like, you'd like to see him go and get a couple of world champions now. I think him and Hamza Shiraz is a good match. Good matchup, very good matchup. I don't think that'll be the last of the kind of UK fighters that end up with Andy Lee. I know there's some that are actively pursuing him at the moment. And he'd always have options for that, as all the good trainers will have. But I think the Ben Whittaker one, I'm really excited to see what it's like because he's got a fighter who's in the spotlight. Hamza Shiraz as well has a certain level of appeal. He's showed in the Berlanga fight.
Yeah,
Just exactly what he can do. So I'm interested to see how those two go. Joe Parker's story will resolve itself somewhere down the line. He did what I think they had a great run. I wouldn't have taken that Wadley fight, as I said. And even if he'd have got to Usyk, I don't think he could have beaten Usyk, but he probably deserved the crack at it. But it's interesting to see what he's going to do with some of the younger fighters now as they come along. Like.
Yeah. But I want to move this along so we can try to hit our 2-hour mark optimistically. That was a good conversation, though. We have that ProBox.
No, we don't have radio silence on Parker's drug test, by the way. Someone said we don't. There's no radio silence on Parker's drug test. Parker popped for the cocaine, and he says he didn't do it. So that's what he wanted to say on drug test. Fighters pop and they say, well, I didn't do this. It wasn't me. Like, it must have been fucking somebody. It could have been my evil twin brother. I had an egg. I ate dinner off a plate that someone was doing a line on. I don't know. Like, what the fuck? Was Joe Parker looked like a big cokehead? I don't know. If it was like fucking what's the fucking shit that they pop for these days? The Diana Ball or whatever.
Osterine or
If it was the
Chemturol
big
or
Baby Miller cocktail, then I go fucking get him out of the sport. Like,
Just that,
but
just
if
that Chuckles, buddy.
Joe Pagger's after popping for fucking, I don't know, like, I don't know if that's even performance enhancing. Is it though? It could be, I suppose. It could be making more alert. Like, I don't know.
I think there's a difference though. It's like the idea, like a lot of people think that was what was in Panama Lewis's drink, the one that I mixed up. And like the idea of like a short burst of energy. So if like somehow it was like you were like in the ring, like, all right, show of hands. Show
I'm
of hands.
thinking
How
back
many
to,
people here has done cocaine? Let me.
it's
Sure,
making
all
me
right.
think back to
But
Celtic Tiger times Ireland, where everybody had a load of money. A lot of it was like a big bubble that was ready to burst, but nobody knew the bubble was ever going to burst. And Thursdays were the new Saturdays, and everybody all of a sudden was going on 2 holidays a year, and people were driving Beamers, and the fucking construction industry's booming. And then you'd see a lot of street fights in those times where there was a lot of fellas, a mix of fellas fighting that were on a big mix of creatine for the
Yeah,
bodybuilding
yeah,
and cocaine. And some of them, you got to think now, had like staying power, like fucking Jason
yeah,
Voorhees. They get knocked down and then they
100%.
get back up. Then they get knocked down, then they get fucking back up. So you don't know. Like, it could
Rob,
potentially be performance enhancing.
Rob, they call it marching powder for a reason.
Yeah,
Peruvian marching
yeah.
Anyone that's taking drugs, right? They've got no place in sport, recreational or performance enhancing.
But they're
Because
having a
you know
great
as well
time.
as I do that what you just said there's a great example. People high march on. They're like supermen. They've got more bravery. They've got more courage. They don't see and they take
Yeah,
more
in
gambles. They
short
roll the
burst
dice.
though is cocaine though. Like if you get 20 minutes of burst out of a line, that was a good line. It's
Okay, let's not take the algorithm into the pits of hell by discussing the fucking potential benefits for boxers.
Don't forget, Matt. You're talking about a pro heavyweight boxer, former heavyweight world champion. Like you
yeah.
wouldn't want to see him marching on, would you?
No, I know that'd be kind of but I mean to be fair, I mean it's not like it mattered at the end of the day. Motherfucker got stopped. I mean, I thought it was obviously a shitty stoppage.
Well, maybe he took it the night
But
before. Maybe he took it the night before. That's fucking. He's been up all night. And fucking eventually he was going to get stopped. Like, I don't know. Jury's out for
listen,
me.
and to pick up on a gentleman's point, there's a radio silence on the Conor Benn thing that's never been resolved. What's happened to Dennis McCann? Like this boxing and drugs doesn't know how to cohabit. Boxing doesn't know how to question drug takers, people that pop for drugs. The media are too scared to ask questions because they'll get denied access. They won't have promoters on their shows anymore. It is the biggest taboo in boxing, and it ain't getting better. And this has been around since the 60s. And the drugs is getting worse. It's getting more scientific. The chemists are getting more cuter and craftier. There's more boxers taking it, and we just don't talk about it enough. People don't get penalised for it. All our heroes has been popped one time or another. Like this is the worst time it's ever been in this sport of boxing because it's there for us all to see. In the old days, to take PEDs, you had to go. It's like buying a Snoop Dogg album. You had to go to a special little place. You had to go round the alley. You go out to the Sawdust Gym and speak to a certain person that was the head doorman on a big club. Now it ain't like that. You can walk into, you can go and speak to a doctor on the side and he'll prescribe it. He'll get it for you. This isn't hard work anymore. So to pick up on the chap's point, there is a radio silence on this, but I ain't ad doing. It's the boxing media do not want to confront this issue.
Yeah, well, and I also don't want to partake in ruining the good name of drugs. But some ProBox action from Saturday night. Justin and I caught this. Well, between us, we caught pretty much the whole thing, at least what was available on ProBox. The main event, I'm sorry I dozed off in round 3, one of those days. But Justin Paldo survived some rough moments, stopped Colombian import Nike Theron. Apparently, his parents saw a pair of shoes when he was growing up and said, that's a cool name for a kid. But Paldo stopped him in the 7th round, continues on at lightweight. He's had a good run since his loss to Miguel Medueno. Justin, what'd you think of Paldo's performance in that main event?
Well, you remember he almost got stopped, like in the.
I don't. I was. That's what I was talking. That's why I was like dozing off.
It was
like, that was a good shot.
What I remember that fight, the funniest thing was, I think it was Algieri had just said, Paldo's setting him up. He's setting his shots up. He's getting ready to get him, and then boom! As soon as he said Paldo's getting ready to get him, he almost got knocked out. by Nike or whatever. But that fight with Paldo, I think they said that was one of those deals where he didn't have to take that fight because he's in line for a title shot. He just wanted to get some work in, and he almost got fucked. But what I remember that fight was when the guy pulled out. They kept asking him in the corner if you were going to quit. Like, do you want to keep going? And he was like, he really wasn't giving them an answer. But I just remember when he said he was done, it's one of his cornermen or something like tried to like sort of pushed him and like threw his hands up and just left the ring. They were all they were all pissed.
Like you,
they were all they were all pissed. Exactly, that's what it was. He kind of looked at him, like kind of shoved him a little bit. Like they were so pissed when he said, "I'm done." And I thought that was funny, but
you're not worthy of the name Nike.
Yeah.
Your parents should have named you New Balance.
Yeah, New Balance Theron. God, what was it? Fila Theron. But he the co-main event was. I like the co-main event. I like the little left-handed guy. What was his name? Balitos. Had like one of those two name guys. I don't remember what the hell is something. But yeah, it was ProBox does what it always does. Decent little card. Like I said, it's the old. To me, I always think it's the old Wednesday night fight from ESPN. So it's always decent shit.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. The co-main Muhammad Yakubov and Christian Cruz Chacon. I thought that one was a good fight. Ended in a draw.
I think Chacon won. I thought Chacon kind of like just outworked him a lot.
And I kind of thought Yakubov got him in the later rounds.
Well, you remember that was Yakubov's like this was sort of like his stepping stone fight because after I guess you could say the upset, his last fight, they were expecting a few things from him, and Chacon was way better than they thought he was.
Yeah, he's one of those. Apparently, I think like 3 of Chacon's 7 losses were in the first 5 fights of his career. So he's been a learn on the job kind of guy. But yeah, that was close. I'd definitely like to see that one again. It was a good battle of 2 southpaws. But yeah, I think I agree with you on work rate as far as Cruz, but I think like the cleaner shots were by Yakubov, but unfortunately he's just not a big enough puncher for it probably to have mattered enough. But yeah, do that one again. Then there was a good, I think this was a 112 or 108 pound fight. 108 pound fight between Eric Badillo and former title challenger, maybe former titleist Elwin Soto. Really good 108 pound action here. With Badillo getting unanimous decision. He just kind of started hurting Soto down the stretch. So he continues his undefeated career along the good path here with a nice W. That should move him really close to title contention, especially around 108, which there's just not enough action there to keep some of these guys out of a title chance. So he will probably get that opportunity. Carlos Balderas getting a split decision win over Ricardo Quiros, who has the best, I think 13-7 record in boxing. Very, very difficult to judge him, but just looking at the numbers, go break it down a little bit more. But this was a good fight, fought on pretty even terms until late. Balderas kind of took the last few, thought it was a fair result. And Charlie Sheehy got a stoppage win over D'Angelo Keys, who's usually pretty tough. So we got to give him some credit on that one. And even though I didn't see this fight getting down the undercard, I don't even more think where they had any televising of it. But there was a fight, a kid making his debut by the name of Jose Contreras, won by DQ over his opponent Giovanni Gonzalez via DQ because apparently Gonzalez was deducted 2 points in round 2 for biting. And then in round 3, he was just disqualified for the intentional foul. So that's a hell of a way to start your professional career with getting bit. But you move on at 1-0, young man. So we wish you the best, and may you not be bitten in the ring again.
I saw a guy last night make his debut, and it lasted 9 seconds. Nobody else saw that fight.
Jesus.
I think it was the card from it was the Mean Machine card.
Oh, I didn't watch that one.
Yeah. The guy from Morocco was making his pro debut, and he lasted like 9 or 10 seconds. It got completely knocked out cold. So he might want to rethink the whole boxing career.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, being knocked out cold is different than losing like your first fight by decision.
And you lasted 10 seconds.
Yeah. I don't know that you can hold a shot.
I don't think so.
Might have came in dry. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And I know Huey fought, or there's supposed to be a Huey card. I don't want to talk about that. Well, there's stuff we want to preview because I think we needed to give some time. At least Justin and I saw this fight. I don't know about Rob and Dez, but I saw a pretty damn decent 118-pound title fight the other day on Monday morning. I think it was for me. Yeah, Monday morning between Tenshin Nasukawa and younger Takuma Inoue, who was able to once again grab a belt with a decision win over Nasukawa. I think the experience really took over late. Nasukawa, kind of a one-handed fighter a little bit. But the good news, Justin, he did not cry after losing this fight. So Tenshin definitely on the upside, even despite the defeat.
I forgot he was the crybaby till about 3 rounds in, and then I remembered, that's the one that Floyd made cry. But Inoue he doesn't have any power at all. Like, he just doesn't have, but he's a decent little boxer. And I mean, hell, the Inoues have titles now. I guess we could say they're joined the other brothers who have a couple of brothers that have titles. But yeah, Inoue should just fight his brother now. Just do something different. Go down. Do something different, get the people involved. You know what? In the Japanese culture, they might do that.
I think what might be happening with that, if I recall, is Aoka is fighting in an eliminator on New Year's Eve, and I think if he wins, he's supposed to be in line for that belt. So that would be an interesting enough fight.
Because Inoue's not going to hold that belt long. He's okay, but he's not going to be like one of these guys that's going to make 4 or 5 defenses. It's there to be taken.
Yeah, most likely. It's after Nakatani vacated his title, it's the division is definitely like lost a little bit of that top weight, unfortunately. But it's still a good division, and Bam could move up at some point in time. And obviously, I said Aoka potentially is up there to give a rip at those titles as well. But let's see here. The only other fight I saw on that card, and it was all right, was coming back. Hadn't heard this guy's name in a while. Rais Alim getting a 12-round decision over undefeated Japanese puncher Makito Nakano, even scoring a knockdown of his own in the fight. A fairly dominant performance by Alim, who has been coming back since that close decision loss to Sam Goodman. He fought a 12-2-1 guy and a 13-1-1 guy, working his way back in this. But I thought it was a really impressive boxing performance for Alim, and I think that was at featherweight, and that was an IBF eliminator, Justin. So he's back in title contention, but I mean in a really stacked division.
That's all you. I just saw the main event.
That's it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the rest of it. I was right in the middle of some shit.
Bam. Well, okay. Hey, good enough for me because, we got some other stuff to preview here. Let's move on into the depths of the world of boxing. Actually, not the depths this week. I think there's some decent fights. I don't know what we really could say about Jaya Pataya and Hussein Sin Cara. That's going to be happening on Saturday, early morning for us, lunchtime for the British people. It's good that he's active, but it seems like we could rip on Apataya all we want, but with this news of Ramirez and Benavidez already looking like it's happening for May, Ramirez is obviously sidestepping Apataya at this point in time and avoiding a potential unification. They're all on DAZN. They can make it happen. So I'm not going to lean on Apataya. He can only fight the competition that's in front of him, and Ramirez has no interest in being that guy. I don't know that you guys have anything particular you want to say about that fight. Fantastic. Let's see here. Some fights that I don't think I'll have enough. Maybe take the time to watch, but you can if you want to. From Stuttgart, Germany, you got Timur Mamoyan and Dejur Al-Sheikh. I wish you the best in that one. And then from Bangkok, Thailand, I think they have a WBC convention out there or some shit like that, because I think Carlos Canizales was supposed to fight on it, but he had to pull out because the whole situation in Venezuela is making it hard to get a flight. But he's going to be going to have a fight on there, at least with Vladislav Kotanov versus Kashair. Kasher? Yeah, it's probably Kasher. I bet they pronounce another vowel. Kasher Gassemi. I'm sure you can check that out on the WBC's website, or they'll have some link that direction. Some British action that's actually happening in Monaco. Going to be a couple of interesting fights on this card. Des, I'll let you take your pick of anything and everything you want to talk about on this, or nothing at all. Going to be headlined by Shabazz Massoud and Peter McGrail, which I think is a solid fight. Massoud is a fair favorite in that one. Beatrice Ferreira and Alif Nur Turhan Kanawaka and Pat McCormick. Johnny Fisher trying again against Herbert Matovu, and Sean McComb will be going in there against Hugo McAuliffe. All from Monaco, presented to you by DAZN.
Yeah, it's like Matchroom do this annual thing, don't they? They have these this Monaco card every year. And we've seen it before. It's the one where Derek Chisora fought Caballero all them years back. That was a Monaco show, and they do it annually, I believe. So I like Conor Walker, Pat McCormack. That's a really good fight. Pat needs to be stepped up. Pat was a brilliant amateur. I think he's got the hallmarks of an incredibly good professional. He comes from a part of the country that if you can just get going, they'll come out for you up in the northeast. Conor Walker's a big step. Conor Walker can fight. We've seen Conor Walker in fight of the year type fights. You know, Conor Walker gave Lewis Crocker a brilliant fight. He beat Harry Scarf. And I think Conor Walker's a British champion, is he? Or has been a British champion. He won a version of the British title. So that's a really good fight. And I think Eddie has probably come to a stage with Pat where he said, look, I can't keep ticking you over because it's no good for you. To keep you sensible and to keep you straight and on the right path, I've got to match you tough. And Conor Walker that's a hard fight. He's being matched very tough there, Pat. I think Pat does it because he's got really good motor skills. He's a really good boxer. He can punch. He's a hard kid. And I think Conor Walker's a bit one-dimensional. I think he's a bit predictable. And whenever we've seen, all barring the Harry Scarf one, whenever we've seen Conor come up against kids that have a little bit of variation and have good feet and good hands, Conor can get caught into a bit of a predictable rhythm. So I'm expecting Pat McCormack, if he turns up, to have a bit too much for Conor Walker. But we was talking about Ben Whittaker being matched appropriately, not necessarily tough, but in fights that will keep him sensible and respectable, keep him on the straight and narrow. And this is a type of matchmaking I like. I like Conor Walker, but Pat's been brought in to beat him, but he's got to work hard for it. I think he does beat him, but it's a really good fight. The rest of the card, Johnny Fisher, he's being brought back. They want to try and get Johnny back on the saddle. Johnny sells a ridiculous ticket, and if you can get him 2 or 3 wins, then they can start talking about him being a British champion and a European champion, world class again. And they need that because people believe it. It's gaslighting, but they're shameless with it. And if you can get Johnny Fisher winning, you've got someone that can bring you 600, 700 grand a year worth of ticket money. And it's a big deal for a promoter. So I expect Johnny to come through Matuvu pretty well. He's with a new trainer in Tony Sims. He's sparring with Daniel Dubois on a weekly basis. And I think they've got another heavyweight in there as well. So he's getting a really good training at the moment. Let's see where Tony can take Johnny. I always think Johnny Fisher's ceiling is probably definitely an area belt. And if the right opponent and it's vacant, maybe even a British title, but it would have to be the right opponent and it would have to be vacant. I don't think he beats the TKV or a Fraser Clark. He don't beat the Dave Allen, so it would have to be all in his favour.
You've eliminated a whole lot of fighters at that level here.
Yeah, but look, I've seen this happen before though with ticket sellers. If you can just get it right, and that's the art of it, the matchmaking. If you can just get a vacant title, and if you can get I don't know. If you can get Nick Webb a couple of wins, you might be able to say, right, we've got a vacant British title here. If you can get maybe Solly Day, because you never know. I mean, it's all hard fights for Johnny because he's got very low ceiling and he's not got a lot of motor skills. Every fight for Johnny is going to be a hard one because he's not a talent. He's not even a puncher. So, but he's a very, very good ticket seller. So let's see where they go with him. It is what it is. The main event, Masood and McGraw, that is a really good fight. We see Ben Davison trained Masood beat Liam Davis last time out, but he's been really inactive. He's out for over a year, and for someone like Masood, who relies on timing and distance, he's got that style that he's very sort of Brendan Ingle. You know, he's very much on the back foot. He's very reactive. Um, I'm not quite sure a year out does him any favours. And when you consider that McGraw's been kept very busy, 3 out last year, second time he's been out this year when he fights next week. I think McGraw will have a bit too much for Masood. I don't think McGraw will make the same mistakes Davies made and get caught up in that trap of chasing him and following him in straight lines. I think McGraw will do everything at different angles. There'll be a lot of feints. And when Masood throws out that jab, I think McGraw will have a counter for it. He'll come around the side. I expect McGraw to win on points, but that's a good fight. It's a really good fight.
Yeah, if you think McGraw's going to win that, I think he's paying probably. I think it was close to 5-2, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good price for McGraw. I think he'll have a bit too much ingenuity, a bit too much variation. I think he'll be too much of a buzzsaw. But we've seen McGraw get beat before.
By a guy who could punch, I think, though, was kind of the thing, because he was winning every minute of that fight, basically, until he got chinned.
And wasn't it on the Sonny Edwards undercard? Did he get caught out?
Sonny and Bam, it might have been. Right?
Yeah, you're right. And he's got back on the saddle really well, McGraw. So he's had some good wins against Reese Edwards and Brad Foster. He beat Baluta. So I think the Masood fight could be the right time for him. But it's a good one. And if Masood wins it, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't think Masood's been active enough for that style. They've kept him cold. And I think McGraw's been active. And I think he'll have the right type of, he'll be throwing a lot of feints, which make Masood be very reactive, and I think he'll get around that on the second phase. I think McGraw wins it, but it's a tight one, and I wouldn't be surprised if Masood could pull it out. But it is a tight one.
Yeah, good breakdown. I like that. Yeah, that's actually honestly, when I saw him, like, that's not a too damn bad for a card. I mean, especially but leading into this PBC pay-per-view, which honestly, I got to tell you, the price is high, but I kind of think this is worthy of a pay-per-view. I like some of these fights on here for sure. I'm going to go to Rob to start this off on the undercard. Now, there's some untelevised, or excuse me, the pre-pay-per-view fights that are on there.
If there's one fucking guy to go to on an untelevised undercard, it's
I'm not going to tell
Rob Kelly.
You skip this part, but the regular undercard. But Frank Martin and Rancis Barthélemy is not going to be on the actual card. Isaac Lucero and Roberto Valenzuela Jr. Don't know if I can see either of those guys. Luis Reynaldo Nunez and Hector Andres Sosa. That's all on the pre-pay-per-view card. The actual pay-per-view card now. The 3 undercard fights, Rob, going to be Jesus Ramos Jr. versus Shane Mosley Jr., Eris Landy Lara and Janabak Alimhanallah, and Oshaki Foster versus Stephen Fulton.
Now we're talking.
I know you're
fucking talking.
Yeah. So
as soon as we got past Shane Mosley Jr., we started talking.
I knew that there was going to be something in there for you. It couldn't be all bad. So there you go, Rob. You have your field day.
I'm going to edge Ramos Jr. in the Shane Mosley fight, just because I haven't seen Shane Mosley fight since he turned over. I think I was highly invested, a big Shane Mosley fan, even though we cracked on him relentlessly over the years on the pod, and deservedly so for some of his out of the ring shape ups and carry ons. But in the ring, Shane Mosley was one of my favorite fighters to watch. One of the favorite fights that I ever watched with my old lad was Antonio Margarito versus Shane Mosley. My dad was after seeing it. I slept in And my dad was after seeing the full fight the night before and knew the result, and there was nothing more fucking exciting to him as when he had one over me and he knew what was going to happen, but he wasn't going to tell me, let me watch it for myself. But even though he's telling me the whole way along, so he's let me know about the brother Nazim identifying the potential plaster Paris in Antonio Margarito's hands. And when Mosley fucking turned it on Margarito that night, it was a great night, one of my favorite memories. So I say
You and
all
me
this to
both,
say,
dude. You and me both.
yeah, one of the classics, like absolute fucking classic moments. You had Brother Nazim, you had Margarito, the fucking absolute Mexican menacing Mexican, and Shane
And the
Mosley rolling
grand
it back
and the grand irony that Mosley being a fucking drugs cheat too, just proving that
himself. Yeah,
to beat
take
a
that,
monster, you got to be a monster.
take that glove, Chief, take that fucking Balco arm. Oh, so that was one of my fucking favorite fights. But Mosley was involved in several of my favorite fights, and I say all that to say I was invested in the pro debut of Shane Mosley Jr. And within 6 weeks, this fucker's after fucking popping hot. It wasn't Balco, it was something else. But of course, he didn't do it. That's right. There's radio silence from me on it because I know that he really didn't do it. Um, but I haven't really followed his career ever since. But what I saw of him, I thought he was an average-ish fighter. He was living in his dad's shadow, as are many of the juniors. So in the battle of these two juniors, I'm going to go for Ramos Jr. to edge out Shane Mosley Jr., not knowing what the fuck Shane Mosley Jr. looks like as a fighter these days. Next fight was, who did you say, Maddie, again? I remember I liked this second fight. Oh, my man,
Ali
Ellis.
Monalan, Lara.
What can you say about Lara other than he's probably 45 years old? Is he... Is he the same age now as Rigondo was when he really turned pro?
If so, he might just be hitting his stride.
So I think he just might be coming into his prime. Listen, I'll never write off Lara, man. Absolutely super. Whatever you think about him, to be still campaigning at this age, he's fucking fought everybody that he could fight, everybody that would fight him. Probably most well remembered for potentially beating Canelo in a very negative or Cuban performance, we say, but a negative performance all the same. But yeah, many people that observed that fight in real time had him winning 115, 113. It's what you like. Canelo was definitely the aggressor. I don't want to be doing a post-fight reaction to a fight that happened almost 15 years ago. But what I'm saying is, I think Lara is an exceptionally talented guy, and he has the potential to beat anybody in a stinker, even at this age and at 160. So I'm going to say Lara, potential decision win by completely nullifying Akhmalalov. And I don't think anybody's really ever definitively beaten Lara at this point, even at this point in his career. So I'm going to say Lara fiddles him
Heard.
around in a stinker. Yeah, forget about Hurd. He's too big. Even though he's
Yeah.
over 160 now, he was
Yeah,
too
he
big
just
for him at that
busted him
time.
up. That knockdown sealed a clean win for him, I thought.
Just about though. So that's one out of fucking whatever. Like he's a hard guy to beat is the point. And I'd say Akhmaladov, if he's not on fucking, if this is not a passing of the torch moment where that guy goes out and makes a statement, and stops Lara, which will be some statement. I think Lara's going to fiddle him around and either come out short on the wrong end of a decision that he should have won, or he's going to sneak a win here. Main fight of Shaki Foster and Stephen Fulton. I'm a big Stephen Fulton fan. Um, Probably predicted for him to win some fights that he wasn't favoured to win in the past, even though I thought he might give Inoue a little bit more trouble. I always thought Inoue would get to him. Shaki Foster for him. I think Fulton is capable of beating O'Shaki Foster, but this is a fight that O'Shaki Foster has to win.
The odds are
Um,
basically even. I mean, when it, like by U.S. number, like it's so hard to convert these into fractions, Rob. But like, Oshaki Foster is -115, Fulton is -110. Which I mean, you're talking like a nickel on $10 or something like. It's fucking
I
nothing.
think, I think Fulton. I think Fulton has better fundamentals. I think he's more skilled, and I think I favour Fulton to sneak a decision against O'Shaki Foster. Even though O'Shaki Foster he's on the up, and he's the guy that the sport would probably be more invested in an O'Shaki Foster win because Fulton's kind of been world champion already, had a couple of bites of the cherry. But I think Fulton by sneaky decision as well, with a lot of exchange, a lot of kind of interesting exchanges in the middle rounds. I like O'Shaki Foster. Think he might start too slow for Fulton, and Fulton might be cruising and ahead by the second half of the fight, and some late drama, and Fulton will still pull through. But I wouldn't be surprised if Foster steps up either and continues like his rise, like, and then he gets him out of there. I don't really know, but I'm edging towards a Fulton decision, really, just off skill set.
So, man, I'll tell you, Rob, I'm not necessarily that Fulton and Oshaki Foster fight is so difficult to judge. Like, I don't even know like what to think on that one. But I will say that the difference between the two of them that I've seen is that in very, very close fights going down the stretch, I've seen Oshaki Foster bite down and make it happen in the last round a couple of times, right? And I haven't seen that necessarily from Fulton. I mean, the Inoue loss, I mean, it's a loss to Inoue, but I think that is a little bit different. He is moving up a division, even though I don't think the size is going to tell too much. But I think if there's anything small that separates them, it's that Foster can really bite down and pull out the victory at the end if he needs to. And I mean, and we all kind of think that Conceição loss was bunk. And Lara, you got to think, he's only fought once each in the last, like, what do you call that, 6 years. He fought Greg Vendetti, went 12 rounds in 2020. In 2021, he took out Thomas Lamana in a round. In 2022, he went 8 rounds with Gary O'Sullivan. In 2024, he didn't even fight in 2023. Interesting. And so in 2024, he did fight twice. He took out Zarafa in 2, and then he went in 9 rounds with Danny Garcia in what was a stinker of a fight until he landed that left hand. But, I mean, he was dominant for sure. Garcia was just not there. So I just think that the level of opposition that he's fought and his limited amount of rounds he's put in. I mean, Alim Hanala has not been tremendously active, but he's younger. I not only think that Alim Hanala is going to win, I think in this battle of two southpaws, I think Alim Hanala is going to knock him out. I got this. I think that he's not. Arislandi Lara is very, very good, but he is not Bernard Hopkins. And his middleweight tenure has been guided very, very carefully against tremendously limited opposition, Garcia included, who had no business at 160 and looked terrible in the ring as well. So I'm leaning away from you on those. I don't know. Justin, what are your thoughts on the undercard?
I'm with you on the Alahanala. I think he'll beat. I'm not saying he's going to knock him out, but I think he beats Lara. I think Fulton beats Foster. I think Ramos beats whoever the hell he was fighting. I forgot what you
Mosley
said.
Jr.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of Mosley Jr. So I agree. Yeah, I think like you said, I think you summed it up what I was thinking. Lara, he hasn't fought a soul in years. I mean, when's the last time Lara fought somebody that you would legitimately say was good? I mean, he fought a stripper. He fought Danny Garcia, who moved up 25 pounds. He's like, I think Anahala
Castano, who he drew with in 2019.
Yeah. So I think Anahala is a legit, decent middleweight. He's not great, but he's a good, solid middleweight fighter. And I think he beats Lara. I think Fulton's just better than Foster. I mean, that's why my decision on that. I think Fulton just does a little bit more than Foster can do. And Ramos does everything better than Mosley can do. Everything. So I think Ramos gets that.
All right.
Maybe Fulton will wear his jean shorts again with the work boots.
Des, what are your thoughts on this undercard?
If I lose you, Matty, just move on because I'm buzzing around in the motor now. I'm picking someone up.
You're fine.
Up from the station. So, I think Stephen Fulton had turned up against Figueroa beats this version of Foster. I think Foster's a really good fighter. I think he was my fighter of 2023. I think he's a brilliant kid. But I think Fulton's grown since the Inoue loss. I think he's at a new weight. I think he's stronger at the weight. I think he's going down ever so well in Philadelphia. I see him on social media ringing the bell before a game this week. I think he's been well received in his own community. He comes from a very good school. Not to say that Foster doesn't. He's down there in Texas. But I just think this version of Stephen Fulton beats and Shaki Foster. But it's a good fight and a hard fight for both of them. I'm just leaning towards Fulton because if Fulton I see against Figueroa, he's going to be a hard man to beat.
This fight's going to be fought on a very high level. That's what's enjoyable.
That's right. Yeah, it's true.
It might not be for the casual eye, but for the people who really know the sport, there's going to be a lot of subtle stuff in there that'll be very enjoyable.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is a real high class trade fight for the hardcores. This really is. Both guys are to be respected. I think Johnny Back's a bit too young, a bit too fresh, and a little bit more active than Lara. And Lara's got to get old at some point. And I think his style, although it works, I don't think it'll work against a kid from the same school that Johnny Back comes from. I think Johnny Back's a really disciplined, good fighter from a very good region. And I think he'll have too much in the locker and he won't stand for Lara's tricks. And that style, he'll figure it out. Who's the other one, Matty?
It was Jesus Ramos versus Shane Mosley Jr.
I think Ramos got too much for Mosley Jr. I think he'll just outwork him, outpunch him. I think he'll punch Mosley into a bit of a shell. I think he wins that one.
Yeah, that fight I think is probably the clearest one to pick of the bunch by but I mean honestly I think the fact that Lara's paying like 3-1 against Ali Mhanallah, I think there's some value to be found on stuffing Ali Mhanallah in with something else that you might like in there. Don't
forget though, Johnny Back comes from a really good school. He'd have seen the Lara tricks before. He'll know not to overcook it. He'll know to be very disciplined. I just think Lara's style is very effective, and Lara gets some really good results. He's had a really good career, but I just think Johnny Back's the wrong person for that.
Yeah, and the fact that he's going up against another southpaw, he's not going to be able to just line up that left hand on people the way that he has been in recent fights. It's not. He's going to have to do a lot more to look for it. And the fact is, Ali Mhanallah has a pretty deep amateur background, so he knows the way the Cubans throw that backhand with a little tail on it and shit. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that undercard for sure. It's going to be good, but that's all appetizer for a main event that I like as well. In lieu of Gervonta Davis rematch, PBC is still getting Lamont Roach a pay-per-view headlining opportunity against the always formidable and entertaining E-Sack Cruz. He's going up to 140 pounds for this. This is 3 weight classes and 3 fights for Mr. Roach, who went from relative obscurity, a guy who lost to Jamel Herring, to a tight list at 130 pounds, and then a guy who became basically a fan favorite for the way that he was able to handle Gervonta Davis, regardless of how you think that fight should have been scored, how the referee should have handled it, etc. So it's an interesting main event, but we have seen Cruz outboxed before. And even though I have a tough time figuring this out, though, Rob, it's because we've seen Roach do a lot of really good stuff in recent fights, but a lot of the really good stuff that he's been doing has been in the pocket. And the guys who have really given Cruz fits are the guys who kind of do a little bit more with their legs. As much as Roach is a favorite, I think he's about as big of a favorite as Ali Mhanallah, maybe just getting a little bit less value on Cruz. I'm having a hard time choosing in this fight, actually, because I can see a lot of ways that Roach beats him, but I can also see what he likes to do playing with Cruz at certain times.
Yeah, good points on everything you mentioned there. What I'd say about Roach is I'm slow to jump on the fucking Lamont Roach bandwagon because I've already just been on the Brian Norman Jr. bandwagon, and that one derailed fairly quickly after he got hit in the fucking second round by a check left hook. The Brian Norman Jr. bandwagon grinded to a halt, and I jumped off that, and then I got temporarily on the Devin Haney bandwagon because he turned on Eddie and started talking shit on Sky Nicholson in response to Eddie saying that he was Snore TV. So I don't want to fucking go all in on Lamont Roach, even though I really liked his performance against Gervonta Davis. Thought he was extremely hard done by the referee in real time, where Davis took a knee and he should have got a count and he should have been the rightful winner in that fight. He beat Davis what's happened since with Tank Davis maybe tells its own tale there. So it's hard to know what ceiling Lamont Roach is actually on. Do you know that way? Was Davis, are these constant distractions with Davis, him not living the life? Did that contribute to him having a shitty night and Lamont Roach looking really good against a fighter who's not trying? Or is Lamont really, really good? Lamont Roach rather really, really good, and he made Davis look like shit on the night and dropped him as well. Um, in terms of E-Sack Cruz, I completely get what you're saying. If your feet are stuck in his hand, E-Sack Cruz is going to love a bit of that, like, isn't he? Because he's just like, come here, let me fucking go through you like Pac-Man. E-Sack Cruz has benefited himself, I think, from his own performance against Gervonta Davis. So you're looking at two guys whose stock probably went up by being really, really good against Gervonta Davis. One guy arguably beat him. The other guy ran him close when he supposedly had a broken hand. Um, I want Roach to be what he said he was. So, like, I kind of like the guy, like, and I thought the way he conducted himself post fight, he could have showed a lot less class than he did. Showed a lot of class in the face of getting hosed, and blatantly robbed. Greater fighters than Lamont Roach have been blatantly robbed. We look back to fucking the likes of Pernell Whittaker and all. He's not owed anything by the sport just because he got robbed. That's the nature of the sport. But you do kind of root for guys in situations like that and hope that they get their opportunity to shine. So I'm kind of semi hoping that I hope he gets the opportunity to shine. But again, I want the best fighter to win the fight. So if Cruz, is going to hang around again and he goes and blasts this guy out and runs him over and goes through him like a Tasmanian devil, then I'd be just as happy. But I kind of figure Roach's ring IQ is pretty good. And even though you said like he fights in the pocket, I agree. I do think he's sneaky in the pocket as well. And I think if you can be sneaky in the pocket, like a fella who's good with saving your wages, like if you could be sneaky in the pocket, I think Cruz might be there for the taking. So I'm gonna go Lamont Roach via decision. That was a very long-winded fucking prediction, by the way. Fucking hell.
Meh. Yeah, it's I think that's the right way to go. And if you think like Cruz does not look as effective at 140, Justin. I mean, Roach might be moving up, and I guess it's kind of questionable what he'll look like. But I mean, I think that part of what Cruz is able to do is a little bit of a bullying factor, even though he's 5'4" tall. And with 3 recent decisions, I'm kind of thinking that his power at 140 is just isn't quite there, and it just might be because he's bogged down a little bit. He's not as explosive compared to lightweight. What do you think?
I think you just summed it up. Cruz is not he's like you said, he's a bully. He overwhelms you. And he's not going to do that to Roach. I don't think. I don't think him keep moving up. If he can't hurt Roach, he's not going to outbox him. And that's how he has to win. I don't think he has to slow Roach's rhythm down. He has to make this a really ugly fight to win, because there's no way he's going to just win because he outboxes Roach. So he's going to have to turn this really ugly. Throw his head in there if he can, if his head even reach Roach or not, because he's so short. I don't know if he can even throw a headbutt that would actually land on Roach. He's going to have to make it ugly, low blows. That's the kind of fight he's going to need. And I think the best shot for Cruz is he's going to somehow have to hurt Roach early and try to stop the rhythm, because if Roach gets in a decent little rhythm, he'll just kind of pop most of the night and keep Cruz off of him. I think that the Roach fight versus Davis was a 50-50 of, I don't think Davis was 100% mentally there, but I do think Roach is decent, but I do think you got to take a little bit. I don't think that was a regular Tank Davis we saw. So I give Roach credit for what he did, but that wasn't the Davis we know, that as far as ability and just into it fight. So I think you got to kind of look at it that way. I don't think Roach is as good as, maybe that fight made him look. I guess that's the best way I can put it. But I think he just is bigger. I think he has better boxing ability. I think it's probably not going to be like no really huge decision, but I think like 116, 112, that kind of thing, he'll beat Cruz.
Okay, yeah, and Dez back with us again. Dez, I think something important to note on this fight is it is a battle between two guys who are able to go 12 rounds with Tank. So I think no matter what you're thinking, it probably is happening over 12 rounds.
Yeah, good spot, Matt. I ain't seen enough of Lamont Roach. I know, but I'm with Justin on this one. I'm not. I can't judge Lamont on that Tank performance because I'm not quite sure how much Tank brought to the ring. I'm not. I'm with Justin. I'm trying to pull Roach down because it was a really good performance. But I've seen so much of Tank to know when the right Tank's not turning up, if you know what I mean. So I like Cruz. I think he's tenacious. I think he's a puncher. I think he'll press Roach, and Roach will have to have. See, Tank didn't take Roach into an uncomfortable space. He allowed Roach to box at his own pace and impose his own style. And Justin used the word rhythm. He allowed Roach to find a steady rhythm. Tank did, and it kind of suited Roach. And Roach must have fought going into round 7 or 8. I can't believe this is the guy they're all talking about. But that wasn't the type of Tank Davis that we've seen throughout his career. Or then maybe we've always seen Tank against smaller guys where he can impose himself. I just don't know how good Lamont Roach is. And for that reason, I'm going to wedge to Cruz. I think Cruz is going to outwork him, outpunch him, outfight him. But it'll be a hard one. It's a fight between two good kids. But I just think the pedigree, the form, and what my eye sees, I'm just going to go with Cruz. I just fancy him for this one. But you might be right when you say it could be a points win. But I think either way, Cruz beats him.
All right, yeah, that's interesting. So we got, I think I'm still on the fence on this one in some ways. I kind of think I talked myself into Roach on this one, but we'll see. As far as we'll see. But that was a good conversation. But Roach is definitely a fighter on the upswing. Ever since he got the win over Hector Luis Garcia, I think that was a confidence builder for him. And and it's built into something really solid for him here. He went from ProBox up onto this. So anyhow, that was a good conversation, and I think we've closed it with enough time to a little question from the queue here from City Bray. Asks Des, who goes further, Moses or Whittaker?
What, in their careers? Is that what he's asking?
Yeah, I would believe so. Yeah.
I think they're both talented kids, and I think they're both going to. There's a good chance they'll both get there. But if I had to hang my hat on who gets there quicker with less trouble, I think it'd be Moses. I think I've got to say this. I think Whittaker is a talent, and I think if Andy Lee can straighten Ben out, and if they get the right fights for Ben, like they're getting the right fights for Moses, he's got Jermaine Franklin now. That's a really good. That's progressive matchmaking. Like that. So what they're saying to Moses is, let's not prat around with the Jamie TKVs and the Fraser Clarks of the world. Let's get you up there with the Jermaine Franklins. Let's get you with guys that have been around American gyms and are technically savvy. But we know if you're at it, you'll beat them, and that will tell us a lot about you, Moses. And if we can get a Franklin and a Sanchez and an Anderson, then maybe we can start putting you in with the Furies and the AJs and eventually the Usyks. And don't forget, you got Fabio Wardley circumnavigating round, and you got other guys that are still there. But that's progressive matchmaking. If they do the same to Ben Whittaker, I'm really confident Ben will get there. But to answer the chap's question, I think Moses is nailed on. I think he's a super talent who knows how to win, and I think his pathway's been. I think Frank, and that might be the difference here. Frank knows how to get a fighter there in a very effective, direct route, and I think where Moses hasn't wasted a lot of time, Ben's wasted a bit of time. I think they're both going to get there, but I think Moses will be a little bit more quicker and swifter.
Right on. Yeah, and I think that there's a really easy path to carve for Atoma. Like obviously, you don't want to get him to Usyk too quickly, and Usyk might retire before he even gets there. But I think if Usyk fights Wardley next, and I think we all kind of agree how that goes. And then Atoma later, towards the end of next year, early 2027, if he were to fight Wardley, I think that basically sets him up for what he wants to do, and that's a very obvious path. Compare and contrast with the great, the unified title holder. I think it's a very clear way to go about his career, in my opinion.
There's two different elements at play that we're forgetting here. Frank Warren has Atoma and Eddie Hearn has Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker is
He's
fucking
fucked.
forged out of fucking whatever the fuck Eddie Hearn wants in a fighter. He generates millions. Of views. He's got interest. He's a good looking kid. He knows how to talk. He can fight a little bit. That's fucking Eddie Hearn's fucking playbook. But Frank has the guy with the higher ceiling talent wise from what we've seen at the moment. Atoma is not like maybe the commercial draw that Ben Whittaker is. So who goes further? In terms of fucking achievement, you would think Atoma, the world is his right now, and there's no, you know what I mean. We just have to see him fulfill the prophecy of being Moses Atoma. Ben Whittaker could probably earn more money than Moses Atoma in probably the next 5 fights, maybe if all the strategy that the whiteboard marketing strategy goes well. Ben Whittaker could probably earn more fucking coin than Moses Atoma, but Moses Atoma has the higher ceiling as a pro, surely.
Right on. Justin, do you have anything on this subject?
No, I just thought when he said TKV, can you imagine the fat that'd be flying around when Atoma
Oh my
hits
God.
TKV?
Be fucking
Yeah.
coming out from underneath the armpits, flying around the head, and
Yeah,
fucking.
that's all I thought. Is just the fat would be
Much respect to
flying.
Jamie TKV, by the way. I don't want to fucking talk
No,
like
he had a great
earlier on.
motor actually. Yeah.
I was shitting on him earlier on, but like he's in horrendous shape. Like, dude,
Yeah.
like if you can win a British title being in that shape, like get yourself in fucking real good shape, and who knows what the
Yeah, I
fuck he could
agree.
do. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
God,
I agree.
A
like he
little
was
bit of
in
trying
god
goes a
awful
long
shape.
way.
And a lot of the fight was like there was about 8 rounds of embracing, like close hugging, like no punches thrown, like 2 minutes 30 seconds of hugs for a lot of those rounds, like with a couple of missed shots.
Hey, George
Am
Foreman
I
would
under or overselling this fight, Matty?
No, George Foreman would have loved it because remember he liked Holyfield versus John Ruiz, so George Foreman would have been all over that fight
Yeah,
last night.
George wasn't the greatest for the
No.
fucking. He might have went blind after Kinshasa. I don't know, like, because he was watching different fights and a lot of the ones he was commentating on.
I
Like,
just
Jesus
I just
Christ.
remember Harold Letterman was like, George, he said, with all respect, he said, you don't know what you're talking about. He said, this is the worst fight I've ever seen. and George kept saying, no, you don't know boxing. This is the great. And Letterman's like, you don't know boxing, George. And this is the worst fight I've ever seen.
One of his
It was
finest
awful.
moments was the Montel Griffin and Roy Jones rematch when he was like, Roy, better watch out. Oh, there's the big left hook that ends it. It was like...
Matty, something you said about Wardley and Usyk. I remember about a year ago, I was talking with Ames and a few of these guys, and I said, and I think I said on this pod, I don't fancy Wardley beats AJ a year ago or whenever it was, but I wouldn't trust AJ with Wardley. If I was working with Anthony Joshua, I just wouldn't trust him with Wardley because, as we spoke about and as we've seen, Wardley will hold his feet and punch with you. And it's so unusual with this group of heavyweights because they've all had really good standout amateur backgrounds. So they're taught to avoid punches. They're taught to be evasive. They go backward, then come forward. But Wardley's not had that. So Wardley stands in the mixer and punches with you. When your chin creeps up, he's throwing. So I'm not saying he beats Usyk. I'm not saying that. But we've never seen anyone stand with Usyk and trade.
Well,
Like
hold on now,
Dubois
Des.
didn't do it. AJ didn't do it. Fury didn't do it. I'm not saying Wardley beats him. I'm just saying he would give him a complete different. It would be a really interesting clash of styles and backgrounds.
Well, maybe as a warm up for Wardley,
Yeah,
he could face Anthony Joshua, who doesn't know what's going on in Ukraine, but it's not nice. But he's now training with Ukrainian trainers, isn't he? He's going over there to see for himself what's not nice. He's with Usyk's team, isn't he, in preparation for
I
Jake
mean,
Paul? So
Rob,
maybe
you fancy Usyk to beat Wardley, don't you? Of course you do. But
of course, yeah.
how would you see that one? What
Like
chance
I
would
get
you
what you're
give
saying, right? Because
Wardley?
Wadley has this kind of romantic element about him now, in that he wasn't the expected guy. We all expected Joe Parker to get the win over Wadley,
I
and
didn't
Wadley
expect
to
him to beat
be.
Fraser Clark, Rob. I didn't expect him to beat Hooney. I didn't expect him to beat David Adelaide.
And
This
definitely not
guy
leave like
keeps
a
knocking
fucking
them out.
horseshoe dent in the
Yeah,
fucking side of Fraser Clark's head. That's probably fucking unfortunately made a big impact on his career. We didn't expect those kind of things. Like you said, I think when we were talking about Wadley, we expected maybe that he lose to Joe Parker, and then the eulogy on Wadley's career was, look, at he started from nowhere. He blah 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 blah. He had a white collar fighter, and he did it. He should be proud of himself. And then we
exactly
expected
that.
the story to
Yeah,
end there. But
yeah.
if you're expecting a guy who's, for me anyway, a guy who started at that level, even if he can whack, Fury couldn't figure Usyk out over fucking 24 rounds. Joshua couldn't lay a glove on him over fucking 24 rounds. I can't see Wadley. The Wars had fucking two stabs at fucking beating Usyk and got stopped in both of them. I
And
think Wadley would get a slow beating off Usyk, to be
and
honest with you. I think he would. Like,
Mm,
you also
mm,
have to think about the fact that the guy who was like who most cleanly was beating Wardley until that moment that he got caught
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
Joseph Parker, it was Hooney, and he was
yeah.
just using very very traditional amateur kind of shit to make it all happen. So if you take that and multiply it by Usyk, I just think Wardley's fucked. But I've thought that he's fucked for a few fights, and here we
Yeah.
are.
And to Wardley's credit, Matty, he never let the same mistake happen with Joe Parker that he let with Hooney. He allowed Hooney to get into a rhythm, and he was waiting too long against Hooney, and he wasn't he wasn't letting his hands go. But with Parker, after the first round, I thought, oh, Parker's too good for him. He come out and jumped on him, and he didn't let Parker get into a rhythm. So look, it's a complete different level, Usyk. We know that, and look, I'm not saying Wardley beats Usyk. I'm just saying from Simon Vasily all the way up to Joe Parker, I didn't think Wardley would beat any of his opponents because I thought they were too much. I've just, like Rob said, I'm waiting for this train to come to a stop. But he
well, the
keeps
thing is,
learning and improving and winning and looking good doing it.
The thing is, as well, the new season of Stranger Things is out now, and a lot of the Demogorgons apparently were made in a Soviet lab. And in a totally unrelated point, Usyk seems to get a second wind in a lot of fights that he's under pressure in. AJ had him in trouble in two fights. Fury had him in trouble in two fights. Those moments of despair for Usyk seem to last very temporarily, and then all of a sudden he comes back and fucking puts the fucking coup de grace on the performance. Like, so I don't know. It's going to take a better guy. I think Moses Atoma is probably the more natural guy with a better shout to end the Usyk
With more
reign.
seasoning, you
Yeah, with a bit
give him
more
a full
seasoning.
fight, yeah.
But yeah, he needs more before he steps in with him. But Wadley, I think, and look at being able to whack, like I said to you, not under normal circumstances, like I said, being able to whack is an equalizer. But fellas who've been able to whack have been able to hit Usyk, and it hasn't seemed to fucking do much damage so far. Like, you know, that way. So
I think Usyk will be retired before Atoma even gets to that point where he would face him. I don't think we're never going to see that fight. I'm telling you right now, that's never going to happen. Usyk won't be around. I mean, Usyk won't be around when Atoma is going to fight him. That's not going to happen.
Atoma
yeah,
will
I think Usyk
either
has maybe one more fight. So that maybe the Wadley one is obviously the realistic choice.
Yeah, I don't think
But
he'll
like
fight.
as
Yeah, Atoma's not
having a
ready
chance of
for.
beating him, I
Yeah,
think Usyk could put a world of
yeah.
pain on Wadley by the time that fight was over. Like,
We
take
all
him to school.
like we said, we love the Wardley story, but we know it ends with him just getting completely decimated with his head almost flying off into the front row. That's coming because it happens almost every fight. He just held up to it. So, but I
I
like the
Oh,
story, but it's coming.
all right, just to play devil's advocate at heavyweight, who's the most rugged, toughest opponent Usyk's faced with the least amount of motor skills? It was Derek Chisora, and
Chaz
Big
Witherspoon.
Derek, yeah, yeah,
who's
yeah.
arguably
Chaz
given Usyk
Witherspoon.
his most awkward fight at
Well,
heavyweight.
and Delboy, I mean, he just fucking puts his head down and he throws over the top and stuff. But that's the difference, though, when you think about it, is that what Chisora does that messes with Usyk is because Chisora fights small. It's kind of odd for Usyk because he's fighting these guys who are substantially taller than him. So it's just a different angle, a different look. Obviously, got plenty of it in the AMs, but it was just you're not necessarily used to punching down when everybody who matters in the division, you're going to be punching up.
I think from what I've seen with Wardley, and just to like make the point here, I agree with all the lads. Of course I do. Usyk should beat Wardley, but I just think it's such an interesting clash of styles, and we know what Wardley brings.
Now we're going to get it,
Heavy-handed,
aren't we? We're going to get it.
heavy-handed left and right. He holds his feet, he punches with you, and he doesn't mind doing it late. He can get to you late on. So it's going to be a really interesting clash of styles, and of course we're all big Usyk fans here as well. But I just think it would be. I think
I
Wardley
want
would
to
be a
see
lot more
Fury Usyk
gamer
3.
than
Rabbit.
Dubois.
I want to see it. Fury Usyk 3. That's the only fucking fight we can make.
I think
Come on.
Wardley would be a lot more game than AJ was and Dubois was.
I still think that I still think Caballe's the best fight for Usyk in the division. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I
don't think any of the guys that can fight him now, like we said, that Toma's not going to fight him. I don't think any of the guys that are eligible for fighting him right now can beat him.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah,
likely. Yeah, I just think the idea of a guy who will really get in your chest and work the body, it's going to be difficult for him. And if you look at, obviously, if you look at what Caballe's done, that's his MO. But doing it against,
that's not putting him in the greatest heavyweight era chat.
Well, yeah, you're doing it against big limited fuck Zhang is a different story from Usyk. Let me venture to say one moves far better than the other. But
some are a great bunch of lads. You never know.
Yeah, but I think that's the most interesting, because if there's anything that we've seen with Usyk where it gets to him a bit is he doesn't necessarily like it into the body, and nobody really likes it to the body that much. But if that
goes back to the old Joe Louis phrase, doesn't it? When back in the days where the fucking TV reporters were able to say wild shit to the fighters, and apparently, like, didn't the journalist say to Joe Louis, he was like, "Hey, apparently you colored fighters don't like it to the body," and he was like, "I don't know any white fighters that like it to the body either." Like, he was like, fucking.
Yeah, and that's what ultimately brought the races together and ended segregation.
Bonding over body shots. It's this fucking spin-off pod we're ready to make.
There you go. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting division, but that was a good question. You gave us a nice tail end of the show there, so I appreciate that very much. Anyone have some final words here before we call it a day?
No, I just wanted to quickly. I know it's not barely with a quarter quite yet. Time doesn't go that fast, but I thought it was hilarious that Devin Haney went for the jugular with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, Undertaker, and Paul Bearer, poor Ben Shalom. In hip hop we have a term called ethered, which is spawned by the fucking title track for Nas's diss to Jay-Z, Ether, and that's what you say when somebody got fucking completely fucking verbally jousted. But Ben Shalom decided to come for Eddie this week, didn't he, and say Eddie is 50 and he still works for his dad. And Eddie, he was just like, man, it's like serving a little fucking softball to Djokovic, that, wasn't it? Like, you're out of your depth. Like, Ben, if you want a scriptwriter, right, you want somebody that can take on Eddie Hearn from experience, fucking shoot me a DM, baby. I'll ghostwrite for you for the right price. I can even make your shit tighter, that way. Like, but fuck me, don't go in unarmed against Eddie Hearn. He absolutely obliterated him. He mentioned the Fraser Clark loss. He said he's the guy that got rid of fucking boxing off Sky Sports. He's in over his head against Eddie Hearn. But maybe someone that Eddie is in over his head against is the Team Haney, the Haneyacks, because he came for Devin last week, didn't he, after the promotion? He had Conor Bain out in his little shorts. By the way, a quick mention. DAZN, stop fucking biting our shit, right? Stop trying to be the boxing asylum. There's a little, if you subscribe to DAZN, there's a little magazine show that they do after the fucking main event that's kind of in the style of the boxing asylum, but it's in a real sanitized style of the boxing asylum where they're trying to say what they really want. They had Ishmael Davis and some fella announce a fight in a burger van for some reason. And then they cut back to Bellew, who looks like fucking Chopper Reed these days. He's fat and he has a kind of handlebar mustache. And Tony was appalled by this burger van announcement. More appalled that there was no burgers available for him by the looks of him these days. But stop trying to be us. You can't be us. The Zone fucking After Dark or whatever the fuck that was, with fucking Sonny Edwards on it. Oh man, it was tragic. But Eddie tried to go for fucking Conor Ben, didn't he, in the Boohoo Man little short set at the Riyadh fight, and Devin has responded with a fucking volley at Eddie Hearn's neck, by the way. He's gone after him Charlie Kirk style, and he said, Sky Nicholson is
Jesus.
one of the worst fighters I've ever seen in my life. Jesus Christ. I said, pick on Devin Haney if you want. I am a Haneyack from now on. Anything I ever said bad about Devin Haney, I'm taking it back. So, Ben Shalom, you need to team up with fucking Bill Haney Sr. and try and get yourself some verbal ammo if you're going to go into war with Eddie.
He's probably got Joe
absolutely-
Joyce writing for him.
Oh, we'll get Big Joe Joyce writing for you. Big Owl Joe Joyce. He'd be a fucking better shout. Like, never bet in his life. Never will be bet. So I thought that was a fun fucking note to end the pod on. But decent weekend for a low quality weekend.
Fuck. Oh my God. Anyhow, you had a couple of real bangers in there, a couple of very specific cultural references that were just killer there, Rob. Very, very impressed with that little run there. But anyhow, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on today. We had Justin, we had Rob, we had Dez. We'll be back next week to review all that was we just talked about, and talk about some other fights coming up. Eventually, maybe we'll have an intro and outro again. We'll test this as we're trying to bump the numbers and avoid certain algorithmic screw jobs and such. But one thing you guys might want to check out is if you go onto our page on YouTube, Steve has been recording those YouTube shorts, and if you just click on the first one, you can just scroll through them all. And he's got some good topics on there, and they've been doing some decent numbers. So if you want some a little bit from Mr. Wellington there, go check out those shorts on YouTube. They're worth your time. I find myself stuck in those things for fucking 10-15 minutes at a time, wasting my life. But what the hell's the point of this time of just not being entertained? I just want to be entertained. But yeah, we'd like to thank you folks for dropping in. We'll catch you fine folks at the same time, same place next Sunday.